Amid a tense night in the forest, elven warriors formed a battle line to stop a monstrous beast. The darkness masked the enemy's movements, making coordination nearly impossible. Screams echoed as the creature struck from the shadows. Chaos followed, and just as one warrior was about to fall, a mysterious figure emerged, slicing through the threat and saving the group. Shocked, the elven leader recognized the stranger and expressed gratitude for the unexpected rescue. The elf, solemn and respectful, acknowledged past misjudgments and credited the outsider with saving both his life and his tribe's peace. Trust was earned, and access to the elven lands was granted. Soon after, the elf's sister approached with nervous sincerity, referencing a past offer. Her feelings had grown, and she expressed a desire to walk alongside him as a companion. Their union was celebrated under a sky of falling petals. Cheers erupted as the couple stood before a grand castle surrounded by joyful onlookers. A deep bond was sealed, witnessed by both tribes. Far away, in a stark contrast, a man in a suit addressed a crowd. He revealed that the world of Ares wasn't just a game. The characters had real personalities and made their own choices. Ares, he said, was an entirely separate world. During the public reveal of the game Ares, the crowd was stunned. What they witnessed didn't look like CGI. It resembled real life. The footage revealed a world where divine AI governed the system. Purium Company Ltd. had created not just a game but a world ruled by the god of Ares, which rewarded users with real power through achievements. Players could gain legendary fame, form armies, or even become kings. The presentation promised limitless possibilities, dreams achievable in the game that were impossible in reality. The announcement ended with thunderous applause. Curiosity spread rapidly. In 2045, Ares launched, created by the genius Lee Sejin. The cultural impact was immediate. The game reached 1 billion users globally. 1 year later, new players arrived in a beautifully designed village, the beginner zone. Everyone was impressed by the realism and the reflection of real-world physical abilities. A local challenge caught their attention, hitting a wooden dummy 10 times. Despite the simple rules, no player had succeeded. Over 1 billion attempts had all failed. The reward: a VIP capsule for Ares worth 50 million won. Though it seemed easy, many gave up. The challenge remained unbeaten, drawing fewer challengers as rumors of its impossibility continued to grow. Even after elite athletes and a national gold medalist failed to complete the challenge, the rumor that the wooden dummy event was rigged to be impossible became widespread. No one dared try until a towering figure pushed through the crowd. Madasok, famed as the strongest man among primates, entered the scene. His reputation for overpowering wild beasts without weapons made spectators hopeful. The audience buzzed as Madasok approached the infamous dummy. His size was intimidating, his presence overwhelming. With raw confidence, he prepared for the trial. As the crowd watched in suspense, he launched a brutal strike. The dummy shook violently and was visibly pushed back more than anyone had achieved before. Meanwhile, in the monitoring room, developers watched anxiously. They debated the consequences. If Madasok failed like the others, backlash was inevitable. One suggested the game had created an impossible quest just to draw attention. With pressure mounting, even the team leader faced doubt. Public trust hung by a thread. If the strongest challenger couldn't break the streak, the game's credibility could collapse. Intervention, once unthinkable, might be necessary, but such a move risked corporate resistance. Tension within the company rose alongside the expectations of millions watching one man attempt the unthinkable. Madasok, the strongest man ever to challenge the wooden dummy, stood gasping after unleashing his full strength. Despite pushing the dummy back with immense force, the system displayed a failure message. Staggered by the result, Madasok fell to his knees in disbelief, admitting his defeat. In the control room, the developers braced for backlash, knowing the public's patience was thinning. As protest calls loomed, a moment of levity passed between colleagues, an offer of dinner in exchange for continued morale. Suddenly, a new challenger approached the platform. He wore default gear, typical of a fresh player, and wielded a weapon likely bought from the cash shop. Staff dismissed him as another naive beginner. Yet when he struck, the atmosphere shifted. A loud crash echoed. Monitors shook. The staff rushed to the window, stunned by the sound and force. In a stunning turn, a world message appeared, announcing the first successful destruction of the wooden dummy. The unknown player gained all stats +5 and earned 200 fame. The room froze in disbelief. No one recognized him. He wasn't on any list, and even Madasok had failed. The impossible had just been done by someone completely overlooked, leaving both developers and onlookers speechless. At first glance, the developers assumed the mysterious player was just an ordinary beginner. But one detail caught the team leader's eye: his sword. When they analyzed its data, the results were shocking. The weapon, named Daylight, was of epic grade, boasting power and durability far beyond beginner-level gear. The sword had restrictions requiring level 40 or higher, yet this player wielded it effortlessly. Confusion turned into alarm. As the team stared at the screen, one question echoed among them. Who exactly was this man, and what was his true identity? Inside a roaring forge, the deafening sound of hammer striking metal echoed endlessly. Sparks erupted as molten fire burst from the furnace, engulfing the room in intense heat. A man stood before the flames, the searing blaze threatening to drain his strength. But he did not retreat. Each strike of the hammer seemed to echo through time, as if awakening something deep within the fire from. Within the forge, a figure emerged. His father. Startled, Hansu stepped forward, recognizing the silhouette. The older man stood by the flames, unburnt, unwavering, overcome with emotion. Hansu approached, but hesitation gripped him. The father he thought lost had returned, surrounded by fire but not consumed by it. Hansu tried to embrace him, vowing to protect him. Yet his father, radiating with power, whispered that he still burned, his body aflame, his spirit unquenched. He stepped deeper into the fire as if fueled by it, unyielding. Despite Hansu's pleas to escape the blaze, his father remained, declaring the heat as his strength. Suddenly, Hansu awoke, gasping for breath, drenched in sweat. It was the same dream. Again, later, in a hospital lobby in Seoul, indifferent voices mocked distant hopes. Elsewhere, Hansu prepared, still haunted by fire and memory after waking from the recurring dream. Hansu met Jihoon at the hospital cafe. Jihoon complained about the secrecy around Hansu's father's condition, frustrated that he couldn't even visit. The conversation quickly shifted when Jihoon brought up Errors, a trending virtual reality game. Despite Hansu's distant attitude, Jihoon explained that no one had completed the beginner event and that success could earn them a VR capsule worth 50 million won. Skeptical, Hansu questioned the logic of challenging a game that defeated top players. Jihoon insisted it wasn't impossible. Hyunsu had shown potential with a task no one else could manage. That, Jihoon argued, made him different. Jihoon then revealed the gaming capsule he had purchased, worth 10 million won. Although Hansu hesitated at the idea of investing time into a game, Jihoon emphasized the scale. Billions playing real-world currency trading and potentially endless rewards. It wasn't just entertainment, it was an opportunity. As they neared the game entrance, Jihoon expressed confidence in Hansu's chances. Though doubtful, Hansu began considering it seriously. When another friend confronted Jihoon about the investment, Jihoon shrugged it off, calling it a calculated risk. In Jihoon's eyes, this wasn't a gamble, it was the beginning of Hansu's return. Hansu confronted Jihoon, demanding to know what chance he supposedly had. Jihoon revealed that Ares included a rare blacksmith class. It wasn't just a game mechanic, it was a calling. As the son and heir of a master craftsman, Hansu had the knowledge, bloodline, and experience unmatched by others. Despite Jihoon's encouragement, Hansu removed his cap, revealing scars from a past tragedy. He reminded Jihoon of the accident, the fire that changed everything. Since then, he hadn't forged, hadn't lived the same way. He didn't feel ready, memories rushed in. Hansu recalled running toward the burning forge, screaming for his father. Flames surrounded them as he tried desperately to pull him out. His cries echoed, but his father remained unresponsive. That incident left Hansu broken, while his father slipped into a coma. The aftermath was devastating. Medical expenses drained what little they had. His father's body lay unconscious in the hospital while Hansu barely survived. Their once proud legacy collapsed overnight. With no income and no support, Hansu took whatever labor he could find. Though his hands still knew the rhythm of forging, they now served different masters, ones that paid little and demanded much. But somewhere deep inside, the fire had not died. Hansu labored in construction, swinging a hammer he once used to shape masterpieces. 10 years of forging under his father's guidance had made the hammer an extension of himself. But now, his grip failed him. The tool slipped from his hand and hit the ground. Frustration and helplessness overtook him. He could no longer do even simple tasks. The accident had weakened his right arm beyond recovery. Blacksmithing was impossible. Even basic labor had become a challenge. Jihoon had meant well with the Ares capsule, but Hansu refused the offer, insisting he'd manage on his own. He walked away, but Jihoon followed, confronting him with reality. Hansu was working just to barely cover hospital bills. There was no future in that cycle. Jihoon pleaded with him to consider the game not as escape, but as a solution. The in-game rewards could change everything. He reminded Hansu of his dream, to live as a blacksmith. In Ares, that dream could be real again, Jihoon shouted. begged him to try just once alone in the hallway. Hansu paused. A vision of his father in flames returned to him. His hand trembled, the memory of heat still vivid. Slowly, silently, he reached out and clenched his fist. Back at the construction site, Hansu tried to push Ji-hoon's words aside, focusing on the present. He couldn't afford to entertain hope. His reality demanded survival. But as the hammer struck steel, the familiar sound stirred something. Buried within him, that rhythmic echo reminded him of the forge. A fire of purpose. The memories returned sharply, not as pain, but as calling. Eventually, he stood before the capsule. With a deep breath, he logged into Ares. Blue light engulfed him. The system welcomed him and initiated character creation. When asked for his nickname, he responded, Hansu. As the game scanned his body, he noticed something strange. The scar on his right hand was vanishing. Power surged through his once weak arm. His grip tightened with full strength. The system finalized his form and asked for confirmation. He hesitated only for a second, then said yes. Now fully rendered in the game world, Hyunsu flexed his hand, amazed. The damage he carried in the real world no longer existed here. His strength was restored. With a faint smile, he muttered about the debt Ji-hoon had created. But deep down, he felt something he hadn't in a long time. Motivation. The forge was waiting, and he was ready. Hansu was summoned to the Barden territory, arriving at a blacksmith's workshop operated by a determined yet frustrated old craftsman. The man hammered away furiously, venting his anger toward unseen instructors and cursing his inability to surpass them. He declared he would forge a superior blade, yet no matter how hard he struck, the metal wouldn't yield. Hyunsu observed quietly before stepping in. "That's not how you do it," he said firmly, catching the old man off guard. The blacksmith turned, startled by the interruption from a stranger. Heinsu's voice remained calm but confident. His eyes weren't mocking, they were knowing. As he repeated himself, "That's not how you're supposed to do it." A quiet authority settled in the room. The experienced craftsman froze, sensing something genuine in the young man's words. Hansu approached the forge, observing the seasoned blacksmith's flawed technique. Though an outsider, he couldn't ignore the improper method being used. His interruption was met with hostility, but he calmly pointed out the blacksmith's intent to forge a strong sword and offered his insight. The veteran scoffed but allowed Hansu a chance to prove himself. Given permission, Hansu stepped forward with a calm resolve. His initial plan was to politely request access, but the challenge had fast-tracked everything. He proposed a condition. If his sword proved superior, he would keep it. In exchange, he promised something valuable. Amused but intrigued, the blacksmith accepted, adding that failure would come at a cost. With terms set, Heinsu gripped the hammer, the familiar weight awakening memories. 3 years had passed since he'd last stood at a forge. Doubt crept in. He had spoken confidently, but uncertainty lingered. He began the work, his rhythm shaky at first. As the metal clanged and sparks flew, muscle memory took over. Each strike felt more precise, more natural. The heat, the resistance, the sound, it all returned to him. In that moment, doubt melted away. The forge no longer felt foreign. He was no longer rusty. This was where he belonged. Hansu knew he could do this. As Hansu struck the glowing steel, sudden memories overwhelmed him. Visions of his injured father, his fallen sister Ji-hoo, and the day his past life shattered. Pain surged through his heart, but he gritted his teeth and pressed on. Every blow carried weight, not just of metal, but of grief and unfinished purpose. The rhythm returned, his senses adjusted, the heat, the resistance, the scent of burning iron all became familiar once more. Hansu's body moved with practiced grace, each motion precise and deliberate. Confidence slowly replaced doubt. He wasn't just recalling technique, he was reclaiming identity. Watching from afar, the veteran blacksmith remained skeptical. At first, he dismissed Hansu as another overconfident outsider. But as he observed more closely, he noticed the young man's posture and strike consistency. It wasn't mere imitation. There was experience behind every swing still. The old man doubted Hansu's staying power in his world. Skill meant everything, and few outsiders ever delivered real results. Even so, Hansu smiled, content just to forge again. Then something changed, the blacksmith's eyes widened. Hansu had shifted techniques, folding, reheating, and tempering the blade with perfect timing. It wasn't random effort. It was expert control. A quiet realization formed. This wasn't luck. This was mastery returning. The old blacksmith watched, stunned, as Hansu continued hammering late into the night. The young man wasn't just repeating actions, he was executing a calculated process, folding, reheating, and tempering the steel again and again. At first, the elder doubted the effectiveness, thinking it might be for show. But curiosity took hold, and he activated his appraisal skill. The results shocked him. The steel, originally D grade, had risen to C grade. He questioned how such a basic method could yield results so quickly. Even he had forged C grade steel, but never with this efficiency. Still skeptical, he believed Hunsu had hit his ceiling. No one without a blacksmithing skill could go further. Time passed. The forge blazed under the moonlight, yet Hunsu didn't stop. The old man drifted off briefly, only to wake to the constant sound of metal striking metal. Hunsu was still at it, focused, tireless, and precise. As the elder looked closer, the steel glowed differently. It shimmered with heat, purity, and purpose. The process was refined, the rhythm unbroken. Then, it happened. The grade changed again. Hunsu had done the impossible. Steel B grade. The blacksmith rose in disbelief. In a world where skill defined potential, Hunsu had just shattered expectation, with nothing but technique and will. The old blacksmith stood frozen as Hunsu continued to refine the blade even after reaching B grade. It was unprecedented. Someone without a single blacksmithing skill had achieved what most could not. But Hunsu wasn't done. Though fatigued, he pushed forward, determined to take the blade further. Recognizing his potential, the blacksmith approached him not with criticism but with a proposal to help. Hunsu accepted with a quiet nod of gratitude. From that moment, the forge no longer held a lone figure but two working side-by-side, teacher and student. Shaping steel together, time passed, and under careful hands, the blade transformed. The older man, with his appraisal skill, confirmed it. A grade steel, enough to forge a rare grade sword. He was astonished. Never had such material appeared in the starter village. His respect for Hunsu deepened. Yet Hunsu remained focused. While others celebrated, he knew the sword was incomplete. The blade still lacked a proper hilt. Its edge wasn't honed enough, and it couldn't yet endure the force he envisioned. His standards weren't just high. They were precise to Hunsu. Perfection was still ahead. The blacksmith watched in silence. Now understanding, this young man wasn't chasing fame or glory. He was chasing mastery. The blacksmith burst into laughter, genuinely impressed by Hunsu's passion. Sitting together outside the forge, they shared a rare moment of calm. When Hunsu confirmed he planned to take the sword with him, the old man offered something extraordinary, a glowing green ore mithril. Heirloom passed down through his family for generations. It was too advanced for his own use, but now, seeing Hunsu's ability and discipline, he trusted the outsider more than himself to forge something worthy. Hunsu was shocked. Mithril was a legendary metal, one that didn't exist in reality. Still, he accepted the offer, driven by curiosity and ambition. Over the following days, the two worked together, teacher and student, in harmony. Jokes, mistakes, and breakthroughs became their rhythm. Slowly, something rare took shape under Hunsu's hammer. It wasn't just another weapon. It was art, precision, and power fused as one. A month passed. Hunsu, now equipped with his finished mithril weapon, wielded it with grace and lethal accuracy. The system confirmed it, an epic-grade sword far above anything in the starter zone. From a forged bond and a shared forge, something remarkable had emerged. Hunsu had begun as an outsider, but now he stood as a craftsman, respected, proven, and ready. In the real world, Hunsu's sword had already drawn attention. At the Purium Company Management Center, analysts tried to unravel how an unknown player could forge something so advanced. Despite their access, details about Hunsu were scarce. His VIP capsule application revealed only basic data, and he had requested strict privacy. His level and identity remained concealed. Yet his weapon spoke volumes. Speculation turned to awe. But Hunsu ignored the noise. While they talked, he acted. He entered the hunting training center, an area meant for experienced players. A gatekeeper warned him off, judging by his level alone. But Hunsu walked forward without hesitation, carrying the blade he forged with his own hands. Mocked for his appearance and dismissed as unprepared, Hunsu remained calm. The moment came when he was asked to choose a weapon. He simply asked, "Is it all right if I use my own?" Drawing the gleaming sword he had forged from mithril, Hunsu silenced every doubt. The weapon shimmered with energy, uniquely crafted and unparalleled in design. The onlookers watched in disbelief. He may have been a level 1 player by the system's standards, but in that moment, Hunsu proved something greater. True strength wasn't bound by numbers. It was forged. Hunsu, a skilled yet classless player, had cleared the beginner zone in just 2 months, wielding a unique hand-forged blade unlike anything available in the game. Despite his accomplishments, the system still registered him at level 1 with no official class. His actions caught the attention of the developers, raising questions about whether to let a seemingly ordinary player progress unchecked. While the higher-ups debated, Hansu continued forging his own path. An offer for a legendary class soon appeared, one no one else had received. At the same time, in the beginner hunting grounds, his defiance toward convention drew scorn. A combat instructor mocked Hansu's insistence on using a handmade sword, branding him foolish for pursuing such a trade in a world where weapons were mass-produced. Surrounded by monsters, others questioned his presence in a combat zone, dismissing blacksmithing as irrelevant. His relationship with the instructor soured, but Hansu stood firm. Though many doubted him, his resolve came from lived experience, repeated rejection and ridicule outside the game. Yet in this virtual world, he sensed recognition. Despite opposition, Hansu believed his path mattered. He challenged the instructor with a bold question, not out of pride, but to prove that true skill could shine, even without a class, even without validation from the system. Hansu stepped forward and boldly requested a test harder than the standard, stunning instructor Relson. Though stationed in a beginner's zone, Relson had trained countless talents and sensed something different in Hansu. Despite viewing Hansu's confidence as arrogance, he accepted the provocation and proposed a special trial. Hansu was led into a secluded area reserved only for those who showed true promise. The trial was not ordinary. Relson introduced the Swift Goblin, a level 6 monster, far above a typical new player's challenge. As the door opened, Hansu calmly declared his intent to clear all stages. Up to the final, this declaration further irritated the instructor, who warned him of the consequences of failure. Without hesitation, Hansu was sent into the final stage where the trial monster awaited. A ferocious, high-level goblin lord, the creature, charged, teeth bared, and claws extended. Most trainees would have panicked, but Hansu stood unmoved. His precision and timing were flawless. One by one, he countered the monster's attacks without retreating. Relson, stunned, realized the impossible. He had not taken a single hit. In a trial designed to push him beyond his limits, Hansu displayed absolute composure and skill, proving that even without a class, true mastery could defy all expectations. As the goblins lunged, Hansu met their charge with firm footing and a steady blade. He parried the first strike with flawless timing, reading the enemy's movements as if they were laid bare before him. To any trained blacksmith, the weakness in their swings was obvious. Activating the sword's unique skill, Daylight, his weapon emitted a surge of power that shattered the goblin's defense. The clash ended quickly. His sword outclassed anything the game had offered, and the enemy fell in a single blow. But another goblin struck fast, landing a critical hit before Hansu could dodge. Blood spilled, his HP dropping to 82%, yet he endured. For a level 1 player, survive such a blow was unheard of. Hansu realized that his time spent forging had secretly raised his base stats, granting him unexpected resilience. With 35 strength and 33 vitality, his durability was solid even if agility lagged behind. Instructor Relson, observing, was shocked. Hansu was defying all norms. But the real test wasn't over. A monstrous roar echoed through the chamber. The final enemy emerged, the mad goblin, faster and more ferocious than the rest. It charged. Relson's trial had just entered its deadliest phase, but Hansu stood unshaken, ready to prove the strength of a true craftsman. The mad goblin attacked ferociously, activating Madness Thorns, an area burst that launched a flurry of thorns toward Hansu. Though struck, he managed to stay upright, but status abnormalities followed, dizziness and reduced vision. Despite the pain and blurred sight, Hansu steadied himself. Instructor Relson, observing from a distance, believed the battle had reached its conclusion. But Hansu didn't falter. He reminded himself to focus, trust in the blade he had forged, and act within his limits. With calm determination, he activated his weapon's hidden ability, Honest Blade, a special skill designed for clean, forward strikes. The resulting blow was overwhelming, slicing through the enemy with precision and power. The difference in level didn't matter anymore. The mad goblin fell, one by one. The other goblins collapsed as well. Notifications confirmed victory. All enemies were defeated. Relson was left in awe, shocked by Hansu's swordsmanship. He questioned whether Hansu had trained before, but Hansu simply stated he was just a blacksmith using the weapons he made. Relson, realizing the depth of Hansu's experience, noticed the scars and muscles on his arms. In that moment, he understood. Hansu wasn't a fool with no class. He was the embodiment of craftsmanship. Respect replaced doubt, and Relson, now fully convinced, offered him a proposal. After defeating the mad goblin, Hansu stood tall. To everyone's shock, a legendary class quest triggered, offering him the path of a mad lord. It was a title with power and honor, one that placed its bearer above even the elite Mad Knights. Observers watching from afar were stunned. Such an offer was unprecedented for someone still classified as unemployed. Instructor Relson explained the weight of the class. Becoming a Mad Lord meant assuming command of an army and guarding the world. With his skills, Hunsu could rise as a king among knights. But Hunsu refused. Calmly, he declared himself not a knight, but a blacksmith. That answer, simple yet resolute, left Relson speechless and deeply impressed. Relson formally acknowledged Hunsu's identity and handed him a recommendation letter to visit Lord Vazel's castle. As a reward, he also gave Hunsu armor once worn by a fallen Mad Lord. Though its function was limited, it symbolized trust in Hunsu's future. The trial ended not with glory but with purpose. Hunsu's decision wasn't just to survive, it was to reclaim his place as a craftsman. With new recognition, gear, and opportunity, his journey as a blacksmith had only begun. The path ahead was clear. He would forge his way to the top to become the god of blacksmiths. Hunsu finished his training quest inside Ares, finally arriving at the starting point, Territory Village. With the main quest now unlocked, the system forcibly logged him out. Returning to his dim apartment, he reminded himself of his real-world burdens. His father's hospital bills and their daily expenses were mounting. Despite becoming familiar with the game's system, he knew survival depended on securing income fast. Shortly after, he received a call from Jihoon. They discussed Hunsu's recent progress, with Jihoon urging him to use the auction house. In Ares, crafting and selling items could yield real-world money. 1 gold coin converted to 10,000 won, a rate high enough to attract professionals. Hunsu realized that crafting gear in-game wasn't just for survival, it was now his best chance at income. Encouraged by Jihoon's praise and reminded of his forging skills, Hunsu felt reinvigorated. His friend's belief gave him clarity. He needed to focus on crafting and selling high-value items. But to succeed, he also had to stay healthy and manage his stamina. Running through the city, Hunsu trained both body and mind. Though virtual, the work demanded real energy. With determination etched on his face, he vowed to save his father, believing the game could give him the power to bring his father back. Hunsu re-entered the world of Ares, arriving in the auction territory. With his first forged item in hand, he accessed the auction house and registered under the name Hyun's Blacksmith. He moved through the grand hall, the system confirming his store's creation. Now with permission to use the in-game auction board freely, he began preparing his first listing. He selected his newly crafted sword, a rare grade weapon created without any class bonuses. Judging its value, he set the price at 100 gold, aligning it with the market standard. As he awaited results, he turned to explore the village systems further. Moments later, notifications began appearing. His listing had caught widespread attention. Across the game world, players reacted with disbelief. A sword crafted by a level 1 user with no class was unheard of. Its high bid and the quality of its construction amazed everyone. Even major guilds, like the Golden Shield Guild, began investigating the item's origin. The sword's enhancement option, combined with precise material use, impressed seasoned blacksmiths and warriors alike. Its value wasn't just in stats, but in craftsmanship. Whispers spread about the mysterious forger behind it. The community buzzed with curiosity, but only Hunsu knew the effort and reason behind that single shining blade. Hunsu's first sword, now known as the First Sword, gained attention as a rare artifact and a collectible. Despite being crafted by a beginner with no class, its quality shocked the community. The sword's auction was a turning point. Suddenly, a notification confirmed it had been sold. Checking the journal, Hunsu was stunned. The weapon had sold for 1 million won, far beyond the original 100 gold listing. The buyer was the powerful Golden Shield Guild. Their message expressed interest in future collaborations and potential recruitment. With 780,000 followers, their influence was massive. Hunsu realized the scale of attention they commanded and the profitability that came with it. His own store, Hyun's Blacksmith, had only 82 followers by comparison, but the spark had been lit. Though small in following, his reputation began to grow. The sale caught the eye of other major guilds. Messages started flooding in. One after another, guilds like Artemis reached out with recruitment offers. Seeing the potential in his crafting ability, Hunsu now stood on the edge of opportunity. What started as a single forged weapon had become a gateway to recognition, profit, and possible alliances. The path ahead wasn't just about survival, it was about proving the worth of his skills to the entire world of Ares. As the world of Ares searched for skilled artisans, Hunsu knew his journey was just beginning. Though guilds were eager to recruit him, he felt it wasn't time to join anyone yet. He hadn't shown the full extent of his blacksmithing skills. Arriving at the Lord's castle, he overheard Lord Vance discussing a broken heirloom. an unusual bow inherited from his father. No one had the skill to repair it, not even the expert in the capital. Meanwhile, a man named Bell, disguised as a blacksmith, had been deceiving the Lord for days. His real class was rogue, and he planned to use this opportunity to steal both the bow and the gold meant for its repair. Before the deal was finalized, Hansu interrupted with confidence. He declared that the bow could be restored right there without leaving the territory. His presence shocked Bell, who recognized the danger Hansu posed to his scheme. A confrontation was inevitable, but Hansu stood ready. His skills weren't just for display, they were built for moments like this. Lord Vance inspects a charred, broken bow with disbelief, recognizing its value. Hansu, cloaked and calm, stands ready. His quiet confidence contrasts the crowd's doubt. The guard identifies Hansu as someone sent with a letter from Instructor Relson. The Lord confirms Relson's connection and demands Hansu's qualifications before proceeding. A system activates, requesting Hansu's class and level. Hansu responds boldly. He is level 1 and classless. His lack of credentials shocks the court. Bell ridicules Hansu, enraged by his boldness, despite being classless and level 1. He shouts that only blacksmiths above level 80 can perform high-level restoration. Hansu interrupts, eyes sharp. He claims the man is mistaken. Hansu reveals that the damaged bow isn't a recurve type as Bell assumed. He declares the weapon is a gakgung, a traditional Korean bow. Bell stares in confusion at the unfamiliar term while Sir Vance silently watches. The late father received the bow as a rare gift from a foreigner. It was a one-of-a-kind weapon unknown to this land. Sir Vance interrupts coldly. He expresses frustration with baseless claims about family heirlooms. Lord Vance calling the story fake and claiming the bow isn't worth restoring. Hansu insists on proving the truth, stating the bow indeed came from a foreign realm. Vance reflects on legends of weapons from other worlds, like those from the Gate of the Soul. Hansu explains that instead of common sinew, the bow was reinforced with rare whale sinew. Bell hesitates, recalling the truth his father's friend crafted the bow using precious beast parts. Lord Vance confirms the beasts used, a giant water buffalo and a whale from distant lands. Bell is shocked. Hansu noticed details even expert blacksmiths missed. Touched by Hansu's insight, Vance entrusting the memento to his care. Hansu accepts the unique quest to restore Vance's gakgung. A system alert confirms the job and reward. Vance dismisses Bell, asking him to leave until further notice. Outside the hall, Bell clenches his fists, consumed by frustration and humiliation over being ignored. Wearing revenge, Bell vows to make Hansu pay for this disgrace. Hansu told Sir Vance the materials: monster horn, whale sinew, coal, and bamboo. A system notification confirms Hansu's complete understanding of the bow's composition with 100% accuracy. He acquires the restoration method for the sharpshooter's gakgung. A memory of Hansu's father surfaces, trying to imitate the process with curiosity. His father gently corrects him, emphasizing patience. Hansu beams as his father ruffles his hair, proud of his son's enthusiasm. The young Hansu admits he loves the work simply because he's doing it with his father. His father promises to teach him how to shape steel one day. With a wide smile, Hansu agreed. Hansu begins the restoration ritual, focusing his mind and syncing with the blueprint data in his system. Fully immersed, he prepares the tools and rare components laid before him. As the workshop fills with light, Sir Vance offering his assistance with a confident smile. Night falls, and Hansu labors in silence. He splits horn and bone, carving, bending, and reshaping materials with intense precision. Hansu's determination glows as brightly as the flame guiding his hands. Hansu's body aches, his stamina nearly drained. Still, he refuses to stop until the job is done. Seeing Vance working beside him fills him with quiet strength, motivating him to push forward. As dawn breaks, Hansu steadies himself for the final phase. Hansu notices Lord Vance's constant presence and realizes his deeper motive. Vance quietly confirms it. The bow is the last connection he has to his father's memory. Hansu smiles, acknowledging it brought back his own cherished memories too. Working on the gakgung reminded him of the past with his father. They shake hands, united by loss and craft. They continue the process, now driven by shared respect for legacy and effort. Days pass, carving, shaping, and assembling each part. Now on the 20th day, the final piece is set. Flames surge, marking the project's end. The sharpshooter's gakgung is complete, now reborn as an epic weapon, gleaming with restored power and new stats. Vance stands before his father's statue, reflecting quietly. He acknowledges the bow came from a foreigner again and accepts Hansu's invitation to test it himself. Drawing the bow with precision, Vance takes aim. The arrow streaks through the air with immense power, piercing the target flawlessly. Vance is stunned not by similarity but by improvement. The bow surpasses its former state. Laughter follows as system notifications confirm Hunsu exceeded expectations. Vance sincerely thanks Hunsu, saying he can now serve Barden with a clear heart. Moved, Vance increases the reward. In addition to 2,000 gold, Hunsu is granted full access to the blacksmith's facilities. Surprised and grateful, Hunsu realizes his dedication forged recognition and trust. Hunsu celebrates the reward enough to support his next blacksmithing journey with confidence. Vance smirks and turns, hinting at something unexpected while gripping a sword with fiery intensity. Vance asks Hunsu if he's ever considered learning swordsmanship. Vance recalls his past as a renowned swordsman, once titled the Lord of Death. He speaks of prime swordsmanship, a powerful technique that subdued hordes of enemies and brought peace to Barden. Noticing Hunsu's potential, Vance acknowledges his blacksmith skill but also sees swordsmanship talent. Vance decides to mentor Hunsu after observing his reflexes, weapon handling, and raw physical ability. He initiates a special quest, offering a fragment of his own swordsmanship essence to aid Hunsu's growth. Hunsu begins training in both smithing and swordsmanship under Vance's watch. A month passes with Hunsu fully immersed in work, crafting his own bow and restoring broken armor. His efforts lead to real combat, testing the skills gained from relentless training and precision forging. Locked in battle, Hunsu clashes with force, unleashing the swordsmanship. Hunsu finishes his swordsmanship training with a final strike. Smiling, Hunsu stating he's ready for the journey. Donning new armor, he tells Vance it's time to pursue an official profession. Hunsu walks through the city, preparing his belongings and recalling Vance's invitation to return any time armor with a damage reflection skill and a bow with accuracy boost. To support future quests, he secretly crafts several rare-grade bows and sells them through an auction house. One bow, Hun's second bow, is displayed with impressive stats, surprising onlookers at the auction. An anonymous bidder is stunned by the bow's quality, astonished that it came from a low-level player. They compare it to top-tier players. Realizing Hunsu's craftsmanship surpassed even veterans at his level. Top-ranked Blacksmith Smith once said that all power in the game is decided by Ares and a player's actions. A guild master from Golden Shield observes that the master of Hunt's forge already crafts high-grade artifacts. She compares him to Smith and suspects he may be someone destined for a legendary class title. Hunsu's bow sells at auction for 2,050 gold, shocking him. Though still level 1 and unemployed, Hunsu gains thousands of followers and countless guild requests. Closing his book with determination, Hunsu heads out, excited to begin his next challenge. Hunsu sets out toward the new land of blacksmithing. He travels across forests and rivers, pressing on with focus and purpose. At last, he arrives at the foot of a towering structure, the blacksmith's tower. Hunsu arrives at the blacksmith's tower. Inside, he finds a massive chain seal and wonders how to unlock the gate to begin the trial. A prompt reveals the challenge: forge a sword in the magical forge. Examining the seal, Hunsu deduces it's made of volcanic basalt, needing a blade strong enough to cut stone. He enters the magical forge, a space with infinite resources and accelerated crafting speed for the challenge. The forge allows swordsmithing practice, but the forged weapons are only usable within the trial's constraints. Hunsu notes that the trial focuses only on forging skill, requiring a sword that can break through rock. With purpose, he grips his hammer and prepares to craft a weapon capable of cutting through solid stone. The next test will measure his mastery of blacksmithing. Inside the tower, the forge master named Deng scoffs at other challengers, calling them greedy and shallow in purpose. He's frustrated by people who only chase quick profits. Deng dismisses modern blacksmiths as sellouts chasing gold, not true creation. He allows a player to gain the blacksmith title easily, but warns of shallow achievement. He rants that most players forge weak weapons without passion, unable to break the true trial seal. Believing no one can pass the challenge, Deng asserts even scratching the seal would be impossible. Hunsu declares he'll forge a Damascus sword. He recalls that skill and knowledge can overcome low-grade materials. A vision of his father appears, reminding him even a simple sword can cut stone. Hunsu is amazed by its enchanted tools, unlimited ores, and reduced crafting time. He marvels at the game's design, recognizing the ideal setup for forging even high-level Damascus steel. Excitedly, he begins hammering, fully committed to creating a blade worthy of the trial. Elsewhere in the tower, Deng is jolted awake by sudden tremors and a loud metallic clang. Startled, he reacts to the continuous ringing of a hammer, realizing something unusual is happening. He rushes toward the source, confused and concerned by the rhythm. The entire blacksmith's tower begins to shake, its structure trembling from the forging vibrations below. Deng senses the cause, a relentless hammering. Shocked, he races down the corridor trying to understand who could be forging with such overwhelming force. With a final strike, Hansu's blade shatters the ceiling stone, breaking the magical chains guarding the tower. Deng watches in disbelief as the barrier collapses and Hansu steps confidently through the light. He acknowledges someone has successfully sliced through the legendary ceiling stone. Deng stares in awe, declaring the return of true blacksmithing through Hansu's success. Hansu humbly asks if he passed, and the master, still stunned, admits no one ever came this far. Guiding him inside, Deng reveals the ceiling stone masked Hansu's power. A summoning circle activates in the center of the room, glowing with radiant energy and signaling the next phase. Surprised by the magic circle's appearance, Hansu learns it's meant to summon something important. With solemn respect, Deng presents his hammer to Hansu, an offer of trust and recognition. He hands Hansu his own hammer, triggering an SS-Rank quest and marking a new trial. A magic circle engulfs Hansu in light as he's told to overcome the true challenge ahead. He's teleported away with urgency, entrusted to carry the fate of blacksmiths forward. Hansu finds himself in a new location as enemies suddenly appear, catching him off guard. An alert declares an SS-Rank quest: defeat an invading orc army. Shocked, he realizes this is no forge test. It's a brutal battle mission. Hansu arrives near a war-torn fortress. He receives an urgent SSS-Rank quest to subjugate the invading orcs threatening the region. Surprised soldiers spot him, mistaking him as reinforcements sent by the master blacksmith to aid their battle. Hans welcomes Hansu and quickly briefs him on their damaged equipment. Hansu hesitates, admitting he hasn't changed to the blacksmith class yet and lacks any crafting skills. Confused, Hans notices Hansu holding a hammer. Hansu explains he earned the hammer during a class advancement test, but hasn't completed the switch. Realizing Hansu lacks both combat experience and crafting ability, the soldiers feel misled. Hans sighs, instructing Hansu to stay safe in the watchtower. As the squad rushes into battle, Hans leads the charge. Hansu watches the fierce clash, gripping his weapon tightly, unsure if he should step in determined. He declares his intent to join, realizing this chaotic situation might be part of his real test. The soldiers advance toward the flaming battlefield as tension grows under the glowing sky. Hansu reflects on his past fight with goblins, believing similar effort might be enough. Hans assigns him to Ben's squad. Ben charges forward, taking the lead as orcs roar with fury and slam into formation. Hansu senses the overwhelming force, noting how much stronger these enemies are than goblins. He steadies himself, acknowledging the gravity of real combat as the front lines erupt in chaos. Hansu clashes with a powerful orc, resisting its blow and launching a precise counterattack. His strike lands cleanly, sending the orc flying and confirming his growth through training system notifications appear. He defeats the orc, gains XP, and levels up. The squad watches in disbelief as Hansu, still classless, dominates the battlefield with skill. Spotting Ben in danger, Hansu immediately reacts and readies his bow for support. Executing a swift weapon swap, he dashes forward, aiming to intercept the incoming threat. Focusing, Hansu releases a powerful shot that pierces through the darkened sky. The arrow strikes the orc just before it attacks, halting its advance toward Ben with calm precision. Hansu prepares another shot, standing firm amid the chaos. Hansu's arrow pierces the orc's head, instantly killing it and leveling him up again. He lands firmly, composed despite the chaos. While the system announces yet another level up, Hansu, still classless, just downed a massive orc with one arrow. Hans, overwhelmed with guilt, realizes Hansu got targeted while saving him. Furious with himself, Hans rushes forward, blaming his weakness for putting Hansu in danger. Hansu fends off multiple orcs alone, maintaining calm focus despite being surrounded. Hansu activates a special weapon ability, Rampage, initiating a whirlwind strike. Slashing in rapid arcs, he cuts through enemies with overwhelming speed. He levels up again mid-battle, showing unmatched skill even against enraged orcs. Hansu levels up again as his contribution rate steadily rises through continued effort. Hans, amazed by Hansu's strength, regains morale and urges the team to fight harder. Gripping his sword with renewed determination, he shouts that they can achieve victory with Hansu. Hans rallies the squad, declaring that with Hansu, they can eliminate the orc forces. A system message shows Hansu's performance boosted the squad's fighting power significantly. Hansu fights on, leveling up again and pushing his contribution rate even higher mid-battle. Hansu wonders why his contribution rate rises slower than expected despite his speed. A hidden quest activates, announcing a new episode never seen before. A massive orc warlord appears, halting the battlefield as Hans commands everyone to stop. A massive orc general emerges from the darkness. Hans recognizes the warlord as their long-standing enemy, one they've never been able to defeat. Before they can react, the squad finds themselves completely surrounded by orc reinforcements. Realizing their mistake, Hans regrets pushing too deep into enemy territory during their advance. Despite the danger, the squad rallies together, prepared to fight without retreat. They vow to end the threat and reclaim control over the battle. Hans commands the entire squad to charge, sparking a desperate full assault. Hansu holds back, seeing the chaos unfold and knowing he must support from range. He draws his bow and fires a powerful shot to cover his allies as the clash begins. Hyunsu fires arrows rapidly, but they fail to pierce the orc warlord's thick skin. Despite the weapon's enhancements, the arrows lack the power to break through. He realizes attacking with just the bow is useless. As the warlord's defense is nearly impenetrable, Hans pushes forward with desperation. He lands a powerful slash, but the attack barely affects the towering orc. In a brutal counter, the orc warlord strikes back, sending Hans's arm broken. Hyunsu watches in horror as Hans is struck down in front of the entire squad. Calling out to him, Hansu rushes forward. He shouts with resolve, "Captain Hans must not fall here." Hansu hears the soldiers struggling as their weapons fail against the orc warlord's armor. Despite repeated attacks, their blades cannot pierce the thick plating of the orc's defense. Hansu watches the front line burn, realizing the squad faces complete annihilation without a new plan. The troops begin to fall back as Hansu commands a defensive formation to limit losses. He orders a retreat toward the forest, determined to buy time for recovery. The soldiers trust his judgment and begin evacuating with the wounded captain in tow. Hyunsu urges a retreat and defensive line, while calculating the enemy's pursuit speed. He estimates 5 minutes of delay will secure their escape and turns to face the threat. Ben promises to hold out, ready to fight even in their exhausted state. Hansu sprints through the trees, reaching a quiet grove lit by moonlight, eyes sharp with purpose. He reflects on the failure of his arrows, not blaming the weapon, but himself. Standing firm beneath the bamboo, he prepares a new plan, refusing to accept defeat. Hyunsu equips the Moonlight Arrowhead, a special tool with armor-penetrating capabilities. Confident in his preparation, he charges back as the battlefield rages ahead. The squad continues to resist, barely holding the line as enemy pressure increases. The soldiers struggle to stand, exhausted but committed to surviving 5 more minutes. The orcs advance with full force, sensing the humans' weakness. Even so, the soldiers yell with defiance they will not retreat. Hyunsu's arrow cuts through the air, glowing with power as it pierces the battlefield. He lands swiftly, rushing to aid the front line as another orc targets a soldier. Hyunsu intercepts the blow, clashing with the enemy in a close-range confrontation. The soldiers are stunned as the air suddenly shifts, the orcs halting in confusion. From the shadows, Hansu steps forward, preparing his bow with precision and control. The orc warlord roars as Hansu launches a powerful shot directly at him. The warlord charges forward while Hansu calmly draws his next arrow. He emerges from the forest, ready to rejoin the others and lead. His presence reignites the squad's hope as they brace for one last stand. Hansu, recognizing the Predator bow's special properties that boost precision and power, he equips armor-piercing arrows enhanced with crafting effects. Drawing the bow calmly, he channeling strength into his next piercing shot. The orc forces push aggressively, forcing the front line to hold their ground under pressure. The squad fights back fiercely, working to create a clear opening for Hansu's attack. Hansu seizes the moment and fires directly at the orc leader's armored head. The powerful arrow strikes with massive force, breaking the warlord's defense completely. System alerts confirm the orc warlord's defeat and announce multiple level-ups for Hansu. A new threat emerges, an enraged orc awakens, triggered by the warlord's death. Hyunsu launches himself forward as orc forces scatter, overwhelmed by the collapse of their leader. The new orc commander retaliates, roaring in rage and commanding a full assault. Hyunsu stands ready in the moonlight, facing the monstrous warrior's advance head-on. Focusing his power, Hyunsu fires a devastating arrow infused with explosive force. The shot hits its mark, striking the enemy's core and unleashing a massive detonation. The explosion engulfs the orc in light and debris, silencing the threat instantly. The SSS-Rank quest concludes as the last enemy's fall and victory is secured. Hansu's contribution hits 92%, granting him full quest completion and new leadership status. The squad hails him, now recognizing him as the true leader of the subjugation force. Hansu is greeted by the recovering Captain Hans, who expresses deep gratitude for the victory. Hans reflects on the battle's meaning, calling it the end of their long war with the orcs. The squad unites behind Hansu as their new leader, offering sincere thanks for his efforts. Hyunsu responds with quiet appreciation, acknowledging their support. With the test now complete, he prepares to leave the battlefield, smiling slightly. Hyunsu decides it's time to return to the blacksmith's tower. The central tower, once a proud symbol of the blacksmiths, now stands frozen and forgotten. Knights have claimed glory while the blacksmiths, once revered, are seen only as tools of war. The elders now gather, seeking not wealth but someone with the true spirit of a blacksmith. Deng reveals a mystical sword can only be drawn by a worthy blacksmith chosen by fate. The sword gleams with power untouched by countless candidates. Deng recalls the ancient words of the blacksmith god. Someone alone believes a foreign youth may be the one destined for the sword's trial. Coulson doubts the claim and questions the youth's right to stand before them. The trial was earned through tests, not status. Now the outcome will reveal the truth. Despite not having changed class, Hyunsu had already displayed elite skill. Won Master confirms the unbelievable. Hyunsu achieved this feat without any class advancement. Elder Deng reaffirms that the prophecy's true successor would be confirmed through the sacred sword. As tension rises, Deng assures everyone that truth will soon be revealed. A messenger reports Hyunsu's arrival at the hall. Elders gather around the glowing sword, awaiting the moment of destiny that may change. Hyunsu walks through the corridor. The elders formally welcome him, acknowledging he has passed the test. If he is truly the one chosen by the blacksmith god, the sword will respond. Elder Deng tells Hyunsu that once he grips the sword, the prophecy will be decided. Hyunsu suspects it might be a legendary class advancement. As a blacksmith, Deng praises, commending Hyunsu's reaction during the trial. Yet Coulson criticizing Hyunsu's crafted arrow as a mere imitation of a known material. He argues that without an epic-grade bow, Hyunsu wouldn't have succeeded. With a smirk, Coulson dares Hyunsu to draw the sword, surrounded by masters. Hyunsu approaches the sword. Each one has earned their title by shaping the legends of Ares. Coulson stands among them as one of the top-tier named NPCs. Hyunsu watches the blacksmith masters with calm confidence. As its energy pulses, the atmosphere shifts, surprising the elders who sense something unusual. The hall trembles as Hyunsu makes contact, triggering a massive release. A brilliant explosion of light erupts. Everyone is knocked back as the sword's power. Hyunsu finds himself glowing with the energy, confused by the sudden change. As others look on in shock, Hyunsu stands with the aura of the sword within him. Deng laughs wildly in realization. This event is the true meaning of the prophecy. A true successor doesn't draw the sword. He becomes one with it. Coulson, overwhelmed and frustrated, curses under his breath. Hyunsu is engulfed in light as a powerful message appears, announcing a class change. A system message declares him the first to unlock the God of Blacksmith's class in the entire world of Ares. As the class seals itself onto him, the flames surround his body. A notification reveals the unique class SS ranks God of Blacksmiths. His crafting mastery increases. As a blacksmith, he will surpass all others in strength and skill. The elders confirm it. The sword has made its choice. Coulson, overwhelmed by fury, screams in denial. He refuses to accept the results of the sword's decision. He argues that the true successor should be chosen by all tower masters. Coulson claims the sword's action might not reflect the true will of the blacksmith god. Elder Deng calls out to Coulson, reminding him that the prophecy must be respected. Coulson claims that the prophecy also includes recognition from all tower masters, not just the sword. With growing rage, Coulson declares a formal challenge. If Hyunsu wins, he'll be accepted. But if Coulson wins, Hyunsu must abandon his position. Deng shouts in protest, ordering Coulson to be restrained. The masters freeze, unsure of whether to stop the duel or allow it to unfold. Coulson glares as he realizes the others won't intervene. He offers Hyunsu a position as Vice Tower Master if he accepts Coulson's control and obeys his commands. Coulson mocks Hyunsu with a laugh, trying to provoke him. Hyunsu accepts the challenge, stepping forward with unwavering resolve. Now recognized as a level 10, God of Blacksmiths, he activates a secret skill designed to overcome opponents' abilities. With focused intent, he initiates EGOD's custom crafting. Hyunsu and Coulson stand face-to-face in a blacksmith's duel. The system confirms the quest, win the duel ranked. Coulson explains the rules. Unlike knights, blacksmiths battle through their crafted swords. Their souls are poured into the blades they create, a test of craftsmanship alone. Coulson leads Hyunsu into a grand forge hall, declaring it prepared for their match. Coulson smirks. If he's truly a god of blacksmiths, a day should be sufficient to craft a worthy weapon. Hyunsu remains silent, knowing the challenge is greater than it appears. Deng warns him Coulson is among the tower's best blacksmiths. Coulson's skill and experience are unmatched. Hansu's growth is still incomplete. Hansu reflects silently. If he were still just an ordinary craftsman, this battle would have been impossible to win. Hansu steps into the forge. He remains steady. Gripping the hammer with purpose, he begins forging. A prompt appears. Hansu activates the god's design skill. The hammer strikes echo through the smithy. Coulson, in another corner, works fiercely. He recalls his lineage trained from his father. His father's teachings live in his hands. Coulson reflects bitterly. He was once unmatched until someone even more gifted appeared. He abandoned his swordsmith dream and turned to mastering bows to serve great Deng. But now, with Hansu before him, the buried resentment returns. Coulson's rage builds as he watches Hansu work. To lose his title, recognition, and position to someone rising from nowhere. Driven by fury, Coulson hammers harder. Hansu finishes his blade in a burst of fire and sparks. Understanding the duel's core, Hansu commits to durability over sharpness. To win, he focuses on boosting the weapon breaker trait, ensuring his sword will endure. Deng noted, without high durability or skills, forging such a weapon should be near impossible. Despite the odds, Hansu stands unfazed. As tension rises, Deng wondering what power lies in the hands of one chosen by the god of blacksmiths. The duel begins. Hansu and Coulson face off in a silent, tense circle as the crowd watches. Coulson smirks, warning Hansu that once the battle starts, there is no retreat. Without hesitation, Coulson draws first with a flash of light. He launches forward to strike. Coulson unveils his sword, Dark Knight. Weapon breaker ability and enhanced attack strength. His weapon's performance even exceeds expectation, showing the depth of his craftsmanship. Pleased by the reactions, Coulson proudly smiles. Hansu calmly steps forward, reveals his own creation. He draws his sword, glowing with unmatched energy. The stats appear: 1000000 durability, 170 attack power. The room falls silent. A rare grade sword forged by Hansu himself. Coulson watches Hansu's sword stats in disbelief. Grinding his teeth, Coulson refuses to admit defeat. Mocking Hansu's effort, he sees him as nothing but a fluke. With a battle cry, Coulson swings down his sword, aiming to break Hansu's blade in one blow. Hansu holds steady, blocking the strike directly. Coulson roars with effort, but Hansu broke down the sword. Onlookers gasp as a sword fragment hits the ground. Coulson's blade has shattered. Silence falls, eyes widen. Coulson, stunned, stares at the broken remains of his once prized weapon. Hansu stands firm. Coulson, unable to believe what happened. The system confirms it. Hansu's blade was created by grade alone. A sword born purely from craftsmanship, enhanced only through extraordinary forging. Coulson reflects silently. He remembers watching his own father forge. Coulson wonders if Hansu is meant to inherit the title he once sought. Deng acknowledges the challenge. Hansu's growth is rapid, beyond what even skilled knights achieve. Though it is rare, true genius in blacksmithing can't be denied. Hansu's god's design skill proves it. His creation reshapes the craft's standards. One elder realizes it's not luck. Hansu's decision-making, control, and technique reflect years of mastery. He watches Hansu in awe. The young man embodies the spirit of blacksmithing, driven by purpose, not power. Whispering to himself, Coulson wonders, could he ever forge a sword like that, or has the era already passed him? Hansu remains quiet, his smile calm and composed as the tension fades. Coulson lowers his head. The idea of being the best no longer holds meaning. He kneels, acknowledging Hansu as the true god of blacksmiths. The system declares the duel complete. A divine tower bathed in radiant light appeared as Hansu stood before it. Inside the tower, Coulson and Deng awaited him with solemn respect. A box was presented to him filled with 500 shining gold coins. As Hansu accepted the box, a scroll radiating magical energy was revealed, sealed with the blacksmith tower's crest. The scroll was an ancient crafting recipe passed down through generations. Deng urged him to use it wisely and walk the path of a true master. Hansu accepted the scroll, his eyes filled with determination to reach the pinnacle of strength. He gazed beyond the tower toward the vast unknown world awaiting him. As power surged within him, the journey of a godlike blacksmith truly began. Hansu and Jihun sat outside a restaurant toasting with beers in celebration of Hansu's unexpected rise. Jihun expressed disbelief over Hansu's success in the game. Proudly, Jihun admitted recommending the game due to Hansu's talent and was thrilled by his growth. Jihun questioned the impact of being a top-ranked class, but Hansu focused on his father's hospital visit. Hyunsu revealed concerns over medical costs, including expensive treatments not covered by insurance. Ji-hoon's tone shifted, mentioning Hyunsu's own untreated burn injuries from his smithy days. Hyunsu reflected on how crafting alone might not earn enough in the game's economy. Ji-hoon advised building connections with famous users to craft and resell rare items. Hyunsu silently acknowledged the strategy, realizing relationships could forge a new path to success. Ji-hoon shared a bold idea, claiming he would personally boost Hyunsu's progress in the game. He envisioned himself earning great achievements in-game and giving Hyunsu a strong carry. Hyunsu, unimpressed, warned Ji-hoon not to get fired from his day job. Ji-hoon, using his character, took on a high-level quest to defeat the feared Sword King Barad. Blazing with fiery power, he charged through the battlefield, unleashing destruction. Against the odds, Ji-hoon completed the quest and received a rare title. Observers questioned how Ji-hoon, with his class, could overcome such an elite boss. His combat was aggressive and relentless, surprising even his enemies. Armed with a glowing weapon, Ji-hoon stood victorious, leaving all in awe of his unexpected strength. Standing before the hospital, Hyunsu sighed, weighed down by monthly treatment costs for his father. He reflected grimly that even combining quest rewards, his determination hardened. He couldn't afford to let the treatment stop. A sudden notification caught his eye. His sword sold for 590 gold to a top-tier player named Lord. Without hesitation, Hyunsu rushed to the hospital counter, asking to pay all overdue bills at once. Tears welled up as he declared his resolve to keep playing Ares. Messages poured in. Lord thanked Hyunsu, saying his crafted sword helped defeat Barad. The buyer praised the sword's true value, stating the price paid was worth every coin. Hyunsu, seated quietly, realized his skill had already begun to change lives. The message from the kingdom's ruler left Hyunsu stunned. Sword King Barad himself had requested a weapon. Barad, the feared and revered monarch of the Godaru kingdom, had personally acknowledged Hyunsu's craft. The Sword King was waiting and wanted him to forge a blade. Standing under the sky, Hyunsu felt hope. He could now cover his father's treatment, and more. Driven by purpose, he decided to meet Barad and reclaim everything he'd lost. With renewed resolve, he vowed to restore his abandoned smithy and reshape his destiny. Elsewhere, a well-dressed man approached a traditional smithy. He looked at the quiet shop and spoke Hyunsu's name. His reminder signaled that reality would soon catch up. Hyunsu was shocked to learn he couldn't meet Sword King Barad due to his low in-game level. He sat silently, realizing a mere level 10 player wasn't worthy of meeting a powerful NPC king. To reach Barad, he'd have to climb to at least level 200 still. There was a way: the Gaurid martial arts tournament held in the Godaru kingdom. Barad himself was known to watch those who showed strength during the competition. The tournament had no level cap and granted fame, wealth, and direct recognition from the king. Determined, Hyunsu began heading through the Kazel territory. It was a dangerous region near the undead lands where his unique skills would be in demand. There, his strength could make a real difference and earn him a shot at destiny. The Kazel territory was swarming with undead, a danger zone known for brutal monster waves. Hyunsu knew he had to defeat them alone to level up quickly. Staring at the fortress ahead, he vowed to clear the quest no matter the risk. Hyunsu arrives at the fog-covered gates of the Kazel territory, the atmosphere tense and silent. A centurion immediately recognizes him as a reinforcement. The military presence is clearly strained. The soldier explains that undead invasions are escalating, and reinforcements are desperately needed. Hyunsu learns that a sacred bell once suppressed the undead's aggression in the region. The bell, when rung, would weaken the invaders and prevent major outbreaks. But now that the bell has been destroyed, the undead are advancing without resistance. A report confirms the bell was broken during a failed alliance negotiation. Hyunsu realizes the enemy may have exploited that chaos to prepare their attack. When asked if it can be restored, Hyunsu hints he may have knowledge from his master. Hyunsu is brought before Captain Carl. Carl is shocked that Master Deng sent him. Carl questions the reasoning, since Deng already deemed the mana bell irreparable after analysis. Hyunsu states Deng wishes to confirm the damage firsthand. Carl explains Deng's past inspection and belief that the shattered core couldn't be restored. Hyunsu reveals his hidden knowledge: a special material might repair it. Carl doubts the claim but allows Hyunsu to attempt it. Carl confesses the territory nears collapse. Undead armies gather at the border. He warns Hyunsu that their survival hinges on the bell's restoration or full retreat. Hyunsu silently accepts the burden, resolved to fulfill his duty and protect the people. A soldier rushes in. The eastern wall is under heavy attack by ghouls. The walls shake from impact as high-level ghouls break through defenses and charge with deadly force. Carl commands his knights to protect the gates at all costs. Carl instructs Render to follow him and emphasizes that all previous conversations must remain confidential. Hansu accepts the burden, recalling his past in the Orc War and steeling himself for combat. The system triggers a new quest: defend the gates and repel the incoming undead assault. Swarms of ghouls flood the city perimeter, their screeches echoing through the night sky. The knights engage the enemy at close range, clashing steel with clawed flesh. Hyunsu is advised to target the same spot repeatedly to break through the undead's regenerating defense. Hansu leaps back and fires an arrow directly at the advancing ghoul's head. The ghoul collapses, its skull pierced cleanly, Hansu activating the flight arrow skill to maintain pressure on the enemy. He lands a critical hit, launching a ghoul backward in a violent burst of energy. Hyunsu and Render coordinate strikes, cutting down threats while holding their ground. A new quest appears. A giant ghoul begins tearing through the frontline forces. A massive figure drops from above, shaking the ground with each step. The system identifies it as a giant siege ghoul, level 59, far stronger than previous enemies. Panic spreads. The knights call for the captain as the monstrous undead charges the barricades. Captain Carl defends the main gate, overwhelmed by pressure. Hyunsu assesses the situation. Carl can't help, and the wall is moments from falling. Without hesitation, Hansu volunteers to distract the giant ghoul and leaps from the battlement. The knights shout after him, warning of the danger. Hyunsu descends rapidly, arrows flashing as he lands amidst the undead, drawing their focus. His attacks scatter the enemy briefly, buying time for the others to regroup and support. Hyunsu confronts the giant ghoul head-on, determined to bring it down alone. With focused intent, he charges and strikes, aiming directly at its core. A massive blast erupts from the impact, engulfing both of them in the explosion. Hyunsu narrowly dodges a deadly strike from the giant ghoul, he planning to lure it away from the wall to minimize collateral damage, the creature forcing Hansu to retreat swiftly to avoid getting crushed. Realizing the ghoul's armor is too thick, Hansu activates his skill flight arrow and takes aim. With focused precision, he launches a powerful shot from above directly toward the creature's core. The arrow pierces downward in a blinding flash, exploding on impact, but the foe still stands. Hyunsu hovers mid-air, waiting to see the damage. The ghoul lifts its head unscathed. Its glowing eyes burn with rage as it lets out a feral roar in defiance. Landing cautiously, Hansu realizes with disbelief. His strongest attack left no damage at all. The giant ghoul's strike lands directly, sending Hansu flying through the air with devastating force. His HP drops below 5%, triggering the system warning of force logout. Hyunsu screams in panic, unwilling to leave the battle unfinished. A massive shockwave bursts across the field, hurling Hansu into the ground with brutal impact. He slowly rises, confused that he wasn't forcefully logged out despite his critical condition. As debris settles, the giant ghoul returns and Hansu prepares for another desperate stand. Hansu reflects on the stakes. Clearing this mission is his only path forward. Failure would mean losing the martial arts tournament and funds for his father's treatment. With his past as a blacksmith burned away, he clings to this final chance. Determined, Hansu charges the enemy again, refusing to back down. He releases a precise strike aimed directly at the giant ghoul's weak point. The attack pierces deep, forcing the monster to stagger as Hansu pushes forward. Hansu's health drops below 3%, but he stands his ground, refusing to fall. He launches an empowered arrow at the giant ghoul, defying his limits once more. Though wounded, he readies another shot, declaring the battle is far from over. As he draws again, a mysterious presence hands him an arrow glowing with power. A bystander recognizes the weapon. Shocked by its appearance, the legendary bowstring. Hyunsu is struck, his health plummeting to 1 horsepower, yet he still stands. Time slows as Hansu begins to fade, believing defeat is near. But his will flares. He refuses to surrender, gripping his bow tight. A system prompt appears. A special condition has been achieved. The system grants Hansu a rare skill, God's emergency creation, triggered by his near-death state. He is given 20 seconds to forge a temporary weapon using selected materials. The countdown begins as Hansu prepares to create a weapon to save the episode. Hansu hammers with urgency, shaping the blade with sparks flying under time pressure. Each strike refines the form as seconds vanish rapidly on the system clock. With one final blow, the forging completes, and Hansu grips the glowing weapon. The blade shines with divine energy, infused with his will to survive. He descends, roaring as he prepares to strike the giant ghoul. With full force, Hansu lands the blow, targeting its core for the kill. Hyunsu's divine strike lands perfectly, blasting the giant ghoul backward in a massive burst. The creature crashes violently, defeated, while Hunsu drops to one knee. Smoke clears as Hunsu pants in exhaustion, holding back collapse from the intense battle. A bright glow surrounds him. He smiles weakly, realizing he has completed the mission. The system confirms the kill. Hunsu levels up as the siege quest is cleared. He collapses unconscious from fatigue as soldiers shout his name in alarm. Hunsu awakens in a recovery room, wrapped in bandages, surprised by the sunlight. He asks how long he's been out. Learning the siege has ended, cheering erupts outside. The people hail him as a true hero of Castle. Hunsu awakens in the infirmary. Carl praises him for saving the day. Hunsu struggles to explain how he did it, unsure anyone would believe the truth. The soldiers gather around him, celebrating his actions while he smiles awkwardly. Hunsu recalls that ghouls are weak to holy power like spirits. He remembered the four-symbol sword designed to banish evil and forged it using restoration knowledge. Thanks to his father's teachings, he brought the sword to life and turned the tide of battle relieved. Hunsu reflects on how well his plan worked, proud but humble. Carl rewards him with 2,000 gold, impressed by his performance and judgment. Acknowledging Hunsu's value, Carl admits he was wrong to see him as just another outsider. Captain Carl bows to Hunsu, asked him to repair Ramas's bell. Hunsu accepts, acknowledging his strength and the holy power in his sword. Captain Carl reveals that the Lord possesses a legendary mineral, a potential reward for completing the task. Carl encourages Hunsu, reminding him of his identity as a blacksmith and his responsibility. Intrigued by the mention of the mineral, Hunsu agrees. They prepare to visit the location where Ramas's bell is stored within the capital. Inside the palace, they enter a secured room displaying the shattered remains of the bell. Hunsu is shocked by the damage. The bell isn't just broken, it's pulverized. Despite the state, Hunsu silently prepares himself to take on the impossible restoration. Carl questions Hunsu's confidence in restoring the bell. Hunsu hesitates but affirms his intent. Though overwhelmed by the bell's shattered state, he clings to the belief that a way exists. A woman enters the room urgently, interrupting their discussion with a sharp presence. She declares the bell beyond repair, even at her own level of mastery. She steps in close, eyeing Hunsu with clear suspicion and disbelief in his claim. Accusing him directly, she questions his identity, labeling him a fraud in front of all. Nell declares her departure from the guild, shocking Rune, the guild master of Gold and Shield. Rune pleads with her, citing her dedication and long-standing contributions to the guild. Nell accusing Rune of irresponsibly offering millions to unknown players. Rune defends the decision, insisting the new blacksmith, Hyun, has real potential and proven value. He recalls past failures, scammers, deserters, and vanished hires, all haunting their recruitment. Overwhelmed, Nell cuts him off, not wanting to relive every mistake that followed. Nell expresses how tiring it was to fix every mess others created. Rune accepts her choice, but expresses hope she'll return someday. As Nell walks away, Rune assures her that her place in the guild will remain open. Nell arrives at Castle and finds the surrounding village in ruins, far beyond expectation. She recalls the villagers as real people, not NPCs. The destruction feels too personal. Determined, she believes repairing Karinas's bell might be the only way to stop further loss. Nell heads inside, hoping for clues, but encounters a suspicious man she doesn't recognize. Assuming he's a fraud, she confronts him directly, challenging his presence. The man reacts defensively, caught off guard by her accusation and tone. They argue until Carl intervenes, revealing the man is Hunsu, who aided the defense. He adds that Hunsu also volunteered to fix the damaged bell. A bold claim. Nell is shocked. A level 38 player claiming such responsibility sounds completely unrealistic. Nell accuses Hunsu of exploiting the situation, doubting the bell can be restored. Hunsu silently inspects the bell fragments, considering the possibility they've changed. Despite the system confirming it's unrepairable, Nell suspects something different may be happening. Hunsu strikes the fragments without hesitation, shocking Nell with his reckless action. Just as she screams for him to stop, he calmly says it might actually work. His confidence unnerves her. His certainty clashes with everything she believed about artifacts. Hunsu insists restoration is possible, smiling amid her rising anger. Before the debate continues, a soldier rushes in to report an undead invasion. Carl turns in alarm, the urgency cutting through the tension in the room. A system update begins. Not a quest, castle territory is transforming permanently. Nell realizes the region is becoming a land of the undead, seemingly beyond saving. Hunsu remains calm, insisting that restoring the bell can still prevent the worst outcome. Nell doubts the possibility, but Hunsu's certainty makes her hesitate. He reminds her of Castle's worth and her desire to protect it. Moved, she agrees to help, and the bell fragments are added to their inventory. Hyun-soo prepares to repair the bell as Carl heads to defend against the undead. Carl rallies the troops, vowing to fight until the very end. With time running out, both sides move with resolve to protect Castle. Hyun-soo and Nell arrive at the forge as the sun sets. Hyun-soo explains that the holy power remained in the fragments after breaking. It's embedded in the material. He believes this makes restoration possible if the material is reforged properly. Hyun-soo plans to smelt the fragments and forge a new bell, amplifying the remaining holy power. Nell questions his method, unfamiliar with any known skill that allows it. He replies that it doesn't require a skill, only experience, and they begin melting the fragments. Nell is stunned. Hyun-soo intends to forge the bell entirely by hand without tools. Hyun-soo smiles and gently asks why she's not helping. He admits he can't complete this alone, quietly asking for her support. Inside the control room, developers monitor the live update countdown for Castle territory. One staff member senses trouble, warning the update might fail completely. She points to the screen showing real-time events. Something unexpected is interfering. A skeptical coworker questions what she's seeing, doubting a single player could affect the update. She insists it's the blacksmith, someone different from ordinary users. The man laughs it off, but the woman's serious expression reveals her growing concern. Outside, Castle's defenders battle desperately as waves of undead press in. Carl and his men shout orders to block the breach and hold the gates. Exhausted but defiant, they continue fighting, determined not to let the undead break through. Carl is ambushed mid-battle by a massive undead. Thrown back by a heavy strike, one soldier is wounded trying to defend him, blood spraying as the attack lands. Despite the injury, they rush to Carl, who regains his footing and reassures them. The troops rally, shouting to hold the line just a little longer. Memories of their homeland fuel their determination. Castle must be protected. Carl braces for another blow, frustrated that disaster might strike at this critical moment. A ghoul lunges again. Carl narrowly blocks it in time. He fears it may be the end, but then a sudden sound echoes. The ghouls screech in pain, reacting violently as something powerful resonates nearby. A wave of light bursts across the battlefield as Rama's bell activates, its repaired form glowing. The undead scream in pain and retreat in chaos, unable to withstand the bell's holy power. Carl stares in disbelief, overjoyed. Rama's bell has been successfully restored. At HQ, disbelief spreads as staff watch the live feed. One spills his drink in shock. Hyun-soo stands firm, hammer in hand, the bell ringing with divine resonance. He breathes heavily, still processing. But yes, he really succeeded. In the control room, staff stare in disbelief as Hyun-soo begins forging with fierce intensity. With a hammer raised high, he channels all focus into restoring the shattered relic. Observers wonder if he truly managed to repair the ancient bell. Technicians panic. Questioning if the update malfunctioned, they discover Hyun-soo hasn't logged out or slept for an entire week since the patch countdown began. One staff member realizes his persistence defied normal user limits, pushing through pure exhaustion. 5 days earlier, Hyun-soo arrived in Castle and headed straight to the blacksmith's forge. He organized villagers and began melting components, extracting raw materials from completed gear, while managing holy power extraction. He delegated supply coordination and drew the blueprint himself. The system announces the start of divine custom crafting as Hyun-soo initiates the bell's restoration process. He adjusts the forge's magic, enhancing the metal with skills against undead and dark energy. He and the team focus on purifying the molten metal with determination. Hyun-soo demands full concentration. No impurities must enter during the casting stage. With prayers and resolve, they infuse the alloy with stronger holy power to defend Castle. On day 4, they continue hammering persistently to shape the sacred artifact. Exhaustion takes hold. Hyun-soo collapses asleep at the workstation without realizing it. Others continue the task, working silently as the final days approach. Even Nell falls asleep from fatigue, unaware of how long she's been resting. Nell awakens and sees the completed bell resonating across the plaza with radiant energy. Hyun-soo continues hammering with steady focus, completing the work without pause or rest. The system grants him a proficiency boost and acknowledges Nell for witnessing a master's process. Hyun-soo jokes about the noise while Nell protests she hadn't rested much. As finishing touches are underway, Nell cautiously approaches with a question. She confirms his identity as Blacksmith Hun. Surprised by the truth, Hyun-soo affirms it and stands beside the bell as golden light surrounds them. Nell stares in awe, overcome by the bell's radiance and craftsmanship. She quietly expresses her thoughts. It's not just pretty, it's truly beautiful. The restored bell emits radiant light as its information is displayed, a unique artifact forged anew. The bell now possesses powerful blessings against the undead. Nell realizes its enhanced strength comes from its recreation, acknowledging Hunsu's unprecedented achievement. Nell calls out to Hunsu, then suddenly grabs his hands with urgency. She passionately asks him to stay with her, leaving him confused and speechless. As Hunsu questions if it's a confession, Nell excitedly confirms it without hesitation. On D-Day, the sacred bell is rung, its divine sound spreading across the territory. The undead scream as the purification effect incinerates them in waves of holy fire. The bell's activation ends the invasion and triggers a new chapter to begin. Hunsu completes the bell and celebrates briefly, but the toll on his body is immediate. He collapses from overexertion and Nell rushes to his side in panic. The system confirms the quest completion and updates the reward unexpectedly. Hunsu's name spreads quickly across the network. With players shocked by his achievement, messages flood in. Many recall him as the one who crafted a famous sword. His follower count skyrockets, as players react to his success with admiration. Hunsu wakes up to a flood of notifications and loud alerts from his terminal. He discovers his follower count has passed 100,000, leaving him stunned. In disbelief, he questions if the overwhelming attention is truly real. Hunsu smiles, knowing he engraved his name onto the bell for all to see. From the bell tower, the restored artifact shines as a permanent mark of his legacy. Captain Carl arrives, announcing a reward granted by the territory's lord for Hunsu's contribution. Hunsu receives a hefty reward of 330,000 gold, leaving him stunned by the amount. He immediately thinks of using the money to reach out to a long-awaited contact. Carl presents the final gift, a chest containing a valuable item befitting a hero. Inside the chest lies orichalcum, a legendary mineral rarely given to anyone. Hunsu thanks them, but Carl insists the gratitude belongs to their people. With sincerity, Carl expresses thanks from the heart for saving Castle. Hunsu acknowledges the heartfelt thanks and prepares to return to the real world. He reflects on how real the emotions of NPCs felt, then logs out quietly. Carl and the others watch as he disappears, amazed by the mysterious outsider who saved them. The next day in Gyeonggo, a phone notification confirms a large deposit from Hunsu. A man smiles, realizing Hunsu truly succeeded in his impossible mission. Real estate investor Kang Hyoksu praises Hunsu's achievement with admiration. 1 year ago, Hunsu attends a meeting regarding the insurance payout after the forge fire. Kang Hyoksu confirms the total compensation as 330 million won. Noting the damage was extensive, he casually suggests the money could cover medical expenses. Hunsu quietly asks if it's possible to buy back the forge with his compensation. Hyoksu is surprised, but Hunsu insists he'll pay fully if the forge is returned. Hyoksu coldly replies that rebuilding the ruined forge would be more expensive than starting fresh. Hunsu refuses the idea, saying it must be that exact forge. He explains it holds memories of his late father, making it irreplaceable. Hyoksu considers the emotional plea, calculating the property's value despite slow market potential. Kang Hyoksu grants Hunsu 1 year to reclaim the forge, warning it will be sold after that. Hunsu gratefully accepts the deal, understanding the deadline is strict and final. He reminds Hunsu to contact him first before the deadline arrives. A year later, Hunsu completes the deposit of 300 million won as promised. Hyoksu is impressed by his persistence and acknowledges the difficulty of the task. Though he once thought it was stubbornness, Hyoksu admits he underestimated Hunsu's resolve. Hunsu explains that the 1 year deadline wasn't lenient. It was necessary for his goal. Hyoksu is moved, asking why Hunsu insisted on returning. Hunsu was the first person who ever tried to reclaim something he had once lost. Kang Hyoksu admits he admired Hunsu's resolve and wanted to support someone like that. Hunsu holds back emotion and expresses sincere gratitude for the chance given. He offers to repay Hyoksu's kindness and asks if he's familiar with the game Ares. To Hunsu's surprise, Hyoksu already knows Ares and even plays it in his spare time. Hunsu reveals he's an in-game blacksmith and offers to create something for him. With a warm smile, he promises to forge anything Hyoksu desires in return. In the virtual world of Ares, a lively town bustles with players and NPCs. Hunsu enters a tavern, now confident and at ease within the game. Inside, Nell calls out to him, instructed him to take a seat. Hunsu speaks with Nell, who recalls his past battle against the undead. Nell introduces herself properly as the game's oldest priest user and once a top-ranked player. She reveals she had faith in Hunsu's potential the day they first met. Nell asks to be the first member of Hunsu's future guild. Trusting in his growth, their friendly exchange continues as they shake hand. Nell asks Hunsu to take care of her as their partnership officially begins. Before planning the guild, Hansu reveals his next goal. Meeting the Sword King Baird, Nell is shocked. Baird is one of the top 10 legendary figures in the game. Hansu calmly confirms he'll enter the Goya Martial Tournament to meet him directly. Nell warns that the Martial Tournament includes elite rankers, making victory extremely difficult. Hansu remains confident, saying he'll win by doing what he excels at. He shifts the focus to Nell's health, but she quietly brushes it off, hiding her condition. Now, on the day of the tournament, the city is vibrant and competitors gather in the arena. The chairman announces the event and its dangerous challenge: fight the monster that appears. From behind the gate, a creature stirs as the crowd waits in anticipation. A dragon-like beast enters the arena, shaking the ground as the fight begins. Cheers erupt as players rush into battle, facing overwhelming force. The system declares the goal: survive the attack for 10 minutes to pass. Excited players rush in to fight the golem, believing the first trial will be easy. The system reveals it's a level 109 stone golem with rewards for those who defeat it. The golem launches a fierce counterattack, shattering the ground with massive force. Players realize the golem's level is far higher than expected, and panic spreads. One player strikes first but is immediately overpowered and forcefully logged out. More participants fall rapidly, unable to handle the golem's devastating blows. Chaos erupts as forced logouts increase and players retreat in confusion. A group of mages shouts, "Nothing matches the pre-released information." Hansu silently watches the battlefield, waiting for the right moment to act. Inside the royal palace, Chairman Bikal rushes through the halls, panicked by the error in the arena. He reveals that a high-level golem meant for elite players was mistakenly unleashed. Fearing complete tournament failure, he rushes to report to the king with urgency. Before Bikal can speak, King Barad refuses to halt the event. He points out that someone in the arena has already adapted. With sharp focus, the king observes Hansu, who remains calm while others fall into panic. Hansu fires a golden arrow infused with energy. It curves mid-air and strikes a stone golem. The weapon is revealed as his custom creation, the orichalcum short arrow forged with return magic. The enchanted arrow circles back to Hansu's hand, ready for another precise strike. Onlookers are shocked as the arrow returns. Questioning its strange behavior, Hansu reloads calmly, recalling the arrow's mythic material earned from castle territory. The second shot explodes on impact, cracking the golem's defenses with immense force. The impact triggers a stun effect, freezing the golem for several seconds. Hansu signals the team, knowing this is the perfect opening to strike. The group launches a coordinated assault while the enemy is immobilized. The stone golem breaks free from its stun, roaring violently and crushing the ground beneath. It slams down with brutal force, sending shockwaves across the battlefield as soldiers scramble. The team braces themselves as the golem regains its stance and targets them again. The monster advances, ignoring injuries, forcing Hansu's allies to retreat in panic. One soldier is nearly caught in the rampage, while others desperately try to counterattack. The golem unleashes a violent blast, but it's clear the battle isn't over yet. Hansu regains focus, refusing to give up, and charges again with his weapon drawn. The golem begins spinning rapidly, launching itself at full speed. Hansu reacts too late and is struck hard. Sent flying through the air, Sir Bikal urges King Barad to halt the tournament, concerned for the participants' safety. Barad initially dismisses the request, but the alert system suddenly flashes before him. Startled, he senses something unexpected. His expression turns serious as he reads the signal. Hansu activates divine crafting mid-battle, forging the Damascus crescent blade in a blinding glow. With the new weapon, he charges and strikes the stone golem's hardened core directly. The enchanted blade pierces the monster, slicing cleanly through its solid body. The golem collapses as the system confirms its defeat and the blade vanishes. Hansu stares in awe as light surrounds him, signaling rapid progression. In a moment of disbelief, he realizes he has gained 14 full levels instantly. Hansu and Nell reflect on the unexpected defeat of the golem. Nell realized the boss wasn't supposed to be killable, only survivable, but a system flaw allowed victory. As Hansu begins to question the situation, a strange energy suddenly starts surrounding his body. Spectators notice Hansu collapsing, but he hasn't logged out, sparking curiosity and confusion. Officials announce the tournament's abrupt end, citing a critical system error. Hansu lies unconscious, still surprising everyone with his overwhelming performance. A live stream erupts with comments as viewers recognize Hansu and his rare custom weapon. Players analyze the arrow's inscription and connect him to the repaired Kazel bell. The chat debates his identity, shocked that a supposed blacksmith could display such power. Players flood the Ares customer service with questions about the cancelled tournament and sudden boss fight. The support team dodges every inquiry, citing free will and internal kingdom systems. Frustrated users receive no answers as the CS agent repeats the same vague apology. The developer watches Hunsu's performance in shock, realizing something unusual is happening. Another staff member reports that King Barad has summoned Hunsu directly. Panic rises as the team scrambles, knowing Barad's personal involvement changes everything. Exhausted developers anticipate a long night, overwhelmed by Hunsu's unpredictable influence. They speculate, if Hunsu gains Barad's favor, he could unlock legendary swordsmanship despite doubts. One developer senses it might actually happen and fears the consequences. The day after the tournament, Hunsu walks into the royal chamber to meet King Barad. Surprised by the early summons, Hunsu approaches cautiously as the king begins to speak. From the throne, Barad calls Hunsu forward, commanding full attention from the court. Barad explains that public honors were skipped due to chaos, but Hunsu's skill was seen. He publicly recognizes Hunsu's performance as that of a true weapon master. Barad instructs the gathered warriors to show their respect to the unexpected victor. Barad rewards Hunsu with 13,000 gold, acknowledging his success formally. Hunsu speaks boldly, reminding the court Barad had summoned him directly. The guards react furiously, calling his tone disrespectful before Barad could respond. Hunsu steps forward, calmly identifying himself as the blacksmith Barad summoned. The knights erupt in anger, declaring his tone disrespectful and move to eject him. Barad intervenes firmly, declaring Hunsu the awaited guest he personally summoned. Guards prepare to act, but King Barad halts them. Barad reveals that Hunsu is the blacksmith he's long been waiting to meet in person. Hunsu steps forward respectfully, formally greeting the king with proper decorum and title. Barad acknowledges Hunsu's delay, noting the time it took to reach the palace. Identified as one of Ares' 10 legends, Barad questions him with a serious tone. Hunsu confirms he understands the reason for being summoned, a task with great importance. Hunsu asks if the meeting concerns a weapon commission from the king himself. Barad confirms, citing past failures even by renowned masters, including Deng of the Magic Tower. Barad demands to know why Hunsu believes he can succeed where legends have failed. Hunsu stands firm before King Barad and boldly claims he relies on no one else's skill. He declares confidence in his own craftsmanship. Barad laughs heartily, amused and impressed by Hunsu's courage and conviction. Barad commands his servant to bring a prepared item, surprising the attendants in the hall. He praises Hunsu's confidence and is ready to test his abilities. A rare mineral, 100-year cold iron glowing with ice energy, is revealed before the throne. Hunsu are shocked by the mineral, which is rarely seen even in fantasy lore. Barad requests a sword of epic quality, promising a reward if Hunsu succeeds. However, if he fails, he'll be forever banned from setting foot in Goyad Kingdom again. Hunsu receives a royal crafting quest, succeed, and he can request anything, fail, and he's exiled. He sees the commission as an opportunity to prove himself and make demands of Barad. With full determination, Hunsu promises not to fail, vowing to succeed at all costs. Hunsu arrives at the forge but senses he is being watched, causing unease. Knight Commander Bella from Goyad Kingdom silently observes him from a distance. The wary Hunsu understands the suspicion and accepts the lack of trust as natural. Bella instructs Hunsu to ignore her presence and focus on his task. Whispers spread that this is Hunsu's final chance under Barad's authority. The pressure mounts as Bella mentally dares him to fail, intensifying his burden. While working in the forge, Hunsu receives a system notification. Someone is at the door, realizing it is an issue from his real world. He pauses his task momentarily. He requests a short break, hoping to quickly resolve the interruption without issue. Hunsu logs out and returns to reality. Rushing to answer the door, he opens it to find his elderly landlord waiting with a calm expression. She politely informs him that she has decided to sell the house. The landlord explains her husband's health requires change, and she needs the space. Hunsu listens silently, the news settling heavily on him, grateful for her past kindness. He responds with humility, accepting the situation without complaint. Hunsu asks how long he has before moving out. The landlord gives him 2 weeks. She expresses guilt, but Hunsu reassures her, grateful for the time he spent there. With acceptance, he quietly repeats the time frame to himself. Returning to his room, Hunsu reflects on his financial burdens and lost opportunities. Despite earning money in Ares, most of it went to hospital bills and restoring the forge. He hasn't even treated his own burns yet and now faces eviction with nowhere to go. As he panics, Hunsu gets a call. It's Nell. She excitedly wants to discuss the Barad quest, but he explains his real-life crisis. Nell listens, understanding the urgency, realizing Hunsu's world is falling apart outside the game. Nell scolds Hunsu, reminding him how critical the Barad quest is for his future in Ares. She explains that public curiosity about his identity is growing due to his recent tournament win. Nell warns that crafting Barad's weapon might expose him when launching his guild later. She emphasizes that Barad's commission is a major breakthrough that can't be wasted. If the Sword King appears publicly with Hunsu's creation, his status will skyrocket. Hunsu feels encouraged by her words, regaining focus and promising to give his all. He logs back into Ares immediately, ready to resume work at the forge. Bella, frustrated by his absence, confronts him for disappearing without notice. She informs him that King Barad is currently in danger. Raising alarm, King Barad is engulfed in flames, struggling amid a blazing inferno. He stands face to face with a massive fire dragon inside its fiery lair. Hunsu is stunned upon learning Barad is trapped in the dragon's nest. Hunsu watches as King Barad charges fearlessly into flames. Barad slashes through a monstrous foe engulfed in fire. The blazing arena is the fire dragon's nest. Hunsu, shocked, realizes the danger. The only one ever to survive such a place before was Barad himself. Bella recalls the name, Fire Dragon's Nest. Confused, Hunsu admits he doesn't know its exact meaning. Bella describes it as a dangerous dungeon category reserved for high-tier flame-type monsters. Among these, the Fire Pit dungeon is the deadliest. Bella confirms only one person has ever returned from it alive. King Barad. Hunsu questions why Barad would re-enter such a dungeon. Bella replies gravely, Barad's enemy resides in that deadly dungeon. Hunsu is left stunned, realizing it's not just survival at stake anymore. Barad arrives at the center of the fire dragon's nest, a vast pit of molten flames. He takes a hit but endures, bloodied but determined. Wiping blood from his eyes, he sets his sights. Victory is near. Barad hesitates at the entrance. The memory of failure haunts him. Still, he charges in. He calculates 3 days to strengthen it fully, time he no longer has. He should have waited for Hunsu to finish crafting the weapon. Staring into the fire, Barad thinks of his lost son, Ban. Barad imagines Ban would have been Hunsu's age now. In a haunting memory or vision, Ban appears and softly mutters, Father. Barad finds Ban injured and kneels beside him, demanding why he came alone. Ban, bloodied and exhausted, explains he thought conquering the dungeon would prove his worth. Collapsing in Barad's arms, Ban apologizes for failing and for coming unprepared. Barad shouts for Ban to live, refusing any apologies. Ban whispers a final apology to his father. His body grows cold. Barad calls his name repeatedly, but there is no response. Barad sets Ban's lifeless body down. He regrets not waiting for Hunsu's weapon. Though the sword is incomplete, Barad can't allow the target to escape, driven by vengeance and grief. Barad charges toward the enemy. Bella explains that since the prince's death, Barad has done everything in his power to hunt the Ifrit. Despite his efforts, the Ifrit has remained hidden. Bella believes this might be Barad's final opportunity. Hunsu admitting his distrust of strangers, but Bella's loyalty begins to sway his judgment. Bella insists there's a reason Barad trusted Hunsu. With the mission, a system notification appears. Hunsu officially receives a quest to save Barad stunned. Hunsu realizes how deep Barad's pain runs. Hunsu reflects on his own encounter with the fire demon. He wonders if he'd have Barad's strength had he lost family in that fire. Resolved, Hunsu answers Bella's plea. With determination in his eyes, he promises to give everything he has to save Barad. Hunsu begins forging with focused intensity. His hammer strikes glow against the blade. Each strike sharpens the weapon's form. Sparks fly as steel meets steel with a final clash. Hunsu quenches the glowing blade in water. Steam hisses. Hunsu recalls that even charged swords couldn't withstand the Ifrit's flames. He begins infusing the sword with mana. As power surges through him, a system message acknowledges his mastery. An intense flash marks the activation of the blacksmith's soul. Blue energy surrounds Hunsu's workspace. The system notes he's more immersed. Hunsu's determination and clarity elevate his craft beyond normal skill. Hunsu activates his first legendary grade crafting technique. A surge of power explodes from the forge. Bella watches in awe as the light intensifies. The sword finally complete. Determined, Hunsu turns to Bella and declares they must move. It's time to rescue King Barad. In the fiery dungeon, Barad clashes with the monstrous enemy. The battle grows fiercer. Wounded, but unyielding, Barad faces the creature responsible for his son's death. The Ifrit appears, laughing. Barad roars, calling its name, ready for vengeance. King Barad stood firm, surrounded by flames, as the battlefield shook under his aura. His sword, glowing with ethereal energy, cut through the air as he prepared to strike. He lunged with full force, blades clashing in a blinding flash. Barad hurling a storm of fire. The flames burst around Ifrit, pushing him back with overwhelming force. A fiery beast raced toward Ifrit, its heat distorting the air. Ifrit evaded narrowly, but the ground shattered beneath him as the creature landed. Ifrit leaping through the fire to strike. Barad blocked, but something in the flames shifted unnaturally. The flames wrapped around Ifrit's body, attempting to restrain him. As the weapon flew from his grasp, he stared in disbelief. Ifrit, his core flared with unstable energy, his flames condensing into a single destructive blast. The explosion erupted, sending shockwaves outward as both clashed in its center. Barad was thrown back. Ifrit roared in triumph, standing tall as his aura surged higher. Barad clenched his teeth, frustrated at the rising pressure. Ifrit smashing the ground, sending Barad sliding through molten cracks with a pained grunt. Barad knelt in exhaustion, realizing Ifrit had overwhelmed his efforts. Ifrit launched himself again, his blade bursting with flame. A fiery wave surged upward, forcing Barad higher as the ground below shattered in fire. Hovering midair, Barad's eyes narrowed. A sudden gust cleared the smoke, revealing a glowing silhouette as the energy around Barad began to shift unnaturally. Barad knelt with his sword now pulsing blue, drawn from the earth itself. He sensed a new power awakening. Ice crystals erupted near lava, clashing elements splitting the battlefield. Bella cried out from afar, urging Barad to use the sword. Barad gripped the blade tightly, its power surging through his body and igniting its frost-bound core. The sword's name, Frostflower, revealed its legend, his first custom weapon made by Hansu. Hansu's voice echoed in Barad's mind, asking him to wield the gift with purpose and strength. As Barad struck, a wave of frost burst forward, sweeping across the scorched battlefield with freezing force. Ifrit was caught mid-charge, frozen in place as icy shards pierced his infernal form. Ifrit staggered back, frost spreading through his limbs. Barad leapt forward with speed, his blade cutting a glowing arc toward Ifrit. Ifrit, body froze solid mid-roar, unable to withstand the final blow's chilling force. Frozen and vulnerable, Ifrit watched in shock as the cold sliced through his flames. Barad delivered a second slash, shattering the frozen body. The final piece of Ifrit's core cracked. He fell, defeated, his body reduced to fragments sealed in ice. From a distance, Hansu and Bella looked on in awe. Barad's sword struck the ground, signaling the end. With Ifrit gone, a system message appeared. Defeated boss monster. The raid was over. Barad stood in exhaustion, his breath heavy. But suddenly, a massive surge of unstable energy erupted from beneath the ground. Flames burst into the air. Hansu and Bella watched in panic as the field erupted. Bella explained that some monsters self-destruct after defeat. Barad, surrounded by raging fire, ignored the calls to retreat. Despite Bella's warning, Barad ordered them not to come. A memory of Ban echoed, telling them to end it here. Bella's will to save Barad pushed her forward, but the weight of his command held her back. As the fire surged again, Hansu remained silent, torn like Bella. Hansu stepped forward, declared his intent to enter the flames himself. He activated divine emergency crafting, fire-resistant and glowing with icy energy. Clad in frost-forged armor, Hansu walked into the inferno. Inside the flames, Hansu found Barad. Barad turned but refused to leave. He insisted Hansu retreat. Hansu firmly replied that his task wasn't complete until Barad returned safely. Barad admitted the truth. He blamed himself for his son's death. He questioned how he could continue living under such guilt. Hansu's eyes burned with anger. He challenged Barad, asking if his son would want him to die in despair. Barad shouting that no one could understand the pain of losing a child due to their own failure. He struck Hansu, accusing him of speaking on things he couldn't possibly understand. Hansu acknowledged the truth, shared his own story of nearly losing someone dear. Hansu revealed his father was in a coma. Each day, he prayed for him to wake up. He expressed gratitude that his father still lived even in that state. He gently said Barad's son, Ban, would feel the same. Hansu embraced Barad, asking him to finally let Ban go and stop blaming himself. Memories of Ban surfaced, his voice, his face, his final words. Barad's eyes welled with tears as he finally whispered, "I'm sorry, Ban." Barad lowered his head, admitting his mistake. Hansu reminded him that living on was the true way to honor Ban. With renewed clarity, Barad agreed. He would not be a shameful father. He would live for his son's pride. Barad smiled faintly and said, "Let's go out." He and Hansu walked through the blazing path together. Bella spotted them emerging from the inferno, her eyes widening with relief and disbelief. As Bella ran forward to meet them, Hansu began to vanish. His HP had dropped to 0. Before disappearing, Hansu smiled and promised, "I'll return quickly." Bella stood stunned while Barad said, "Hansu, that child saved me." Barad and Bella stood side by side, grateful, changed, and no longer alone. Barad collapsed, unconscious. Bella cried out, pleading with him to respond as she supported his body. His eyes finally opened barely. Far away, Hansu received a logout penalty, his level reduced. In reality, Hansu whispered, "I'll keep moving forward, father," ready to face what comes next. Barad stood on a hill bathed in sunlight when a figure appeared in the distance. His son Ban was walking toward him with quiet purpose. Barad called his son's name in disbelief. Barad reached for Ban, confused by the words "final goodbye." Ban explained that Hansu had helped him realize this was the time to let go and allow Barad to live his life freely. As Ban embraced his father, he faded into light. Barad cried out in despair, calling his son's name again and again. Barad woke in a bed, murmuring Ban's name. His hand trembled with emotion. Guards rushed in, surprised by his awakening after 3 days. Barad calmly stated that Ban had come to say goodbye. Barad rose and declared his need to meet Hansu. Barad sat quietly when the door opened with news. Hansu had arrived. Hansu entered the hall with calm dignity and greeted Barad respectfully. Hansu knelt as a formality, but Barad told him to rise. Barad then invited him to sit, wanting to ask something. Barad spoke about the nature of strangers, immortal beings capable of returning after death. Looking directly at him, Barad asked why Hansu had risked his life to save him despite that fear. Hansu replied that there were 2 reasons. Barad, curious, asked what those were. Hansu explained that he hoped Barad, carrying the same inner sorrow, would choose to continue living. Barad reflected on those words. As he asked about the second reason, Hansu prepared to reveal it. Hansu answered Barad's question with a smirk, saying he had faith Barad would reward him generously. Barad gave a faint smile, amused by Hansu's confidence. He acknowledged it with a calm response. Barad confirmed Hansu's assumption. He had truly intended to reward him properly for his deeds. Barad placed a scroll on the table, explaining it was the worth of the sword Hansu had forged. Hansu opened it and was stunned. The value shown was over 1,000,000 gold. Barad declared the sword priceless, as it had saved his life. Hansu was left speechless at the amount. Hansu bowed deeply, thanking Barad. Barad promised to live life fully, hoping to meet Ban again with no regrets. He encouraged Hansu to do the same, to live with strength for the day his own father awakens. Barad asked Hansu to visit him occasionally. Hansu agreed without hesitation, saying he also wished to hear Barad's stories when they met again. Barad smiled at the response and called Hansu a dear friend. Hansu was surprised but touched to be called a dear friend by Barad. A system message appeared. Barad's favor had reached its peak, granting Hansu the blessing of a dear friend. They shook hands firmly. Hansu felt honored and proud, treasuring the bond they had just formed. Barad announced he would pass down his swordsmanship to Hansu as a gift for their friendship. Knight Commander Benson, shocked, reminded Barad that Lord was already appointed his successor. Benson questioned if another outsider should receive such training, implying that strict qualifications were needed for that honor. Barad assured Sir Benson that his swordsmanship wouldn't be given to just anyone. Hansu had earned the right. A system message activated a special skill quest for Hansu, with a challenge to prove his worth through battle. Barad revealed that Knight Commander Benson would personally test Hansu's qualifications to receive the swordsmanship legacy. Hansu logged out of Ares for 2 days to take care of real-life matters during the grace period. He used his earnings to pay hospital bills and helped his family move to a new home. After expressing gratitude to his former landlord, he contacted his friend Ji-hoon, inviting him out for a meal. At a restaurant, sizzling Korean beef cooked on the grill while Ji-hoon confirmed its authenticity in disbelief. Hansu treated him generously, thanking him for all the support he had given over time. Though embarrassed, Ji-hoon appreciated the gesture deeply. Their friendship remained strong. At the restaurant, Ji-hoon noticed Hansu pulling out a package and asked what he was doing. Hansu placed the gift on the table with a quiet smile, saying it was for Ji-hoon. Ji-hoon looked confused as he began unwrapping the fancy box, wondering what could be inside. Inside the box were a pair of high-end Hermes shoes, gleaming under the light. Stunned, Ji-hoon asked if the luxury gift was really for him, shocked by its value. Hansu explained it was a gift bought using the money from the capsule Ji-hoon had once purchased for him. Overwhelmed with joy, Ji-hoon shouted thanks. Amazed by the Hermes gift and touched by the gesture, Hansu silently reflected that it was Ji-hoon who changed his life and deserved the thanks. as they laughed and shared food under the night sky. The arena filled with light as Hunsu entered to face Knight Commander Benson for the qualification trial. Benson stood firm, calling Hunsu to draw his weapon and prepare for battle. With his sword drawn, Benson warned he wouldn't hold back. Both warriors stepped forward, assessing each other cautiously. Hunsu smiled calmly, showing no fear as he met Benson's eyes. Confidently, he stated his intent. He looked forward to working with him. A glowing crystal levitates as powerful energy radiates throughout the hall. Hunsu approaches with confidence, the summoned artifact floating before him. Commander Benson looks stunned by the display. Hunsu draws a blazing sword. Benson examines Hunsu's sword, unimpressed. Underestimating Hunsu's creation, Benson prepares his own weapon. Benson taunts Hunsu, questioning whether such a weapon could truly defeat him. Benson charges at Hunsu, mocking him for facing a knight commander with just a sword. Benson begins to criticize the sword's durability as cracks appear along Hunsu's blade. Suddenly, the cracked blade releases a flurry of energy. Shards scatter across the ground as Benson staggers back, visibly affected by the barrage. Hunsu steps forward, calm and composed. He confirms his objective, landing successful hits. As a system window appears, the tally is displayed, 59 successful strikes. Hunsu questions the rules, confirming no restrictions were broken. For the first time, Benson shows uncertainty, asking about Hunsu's true identity. Hunsu responds quietly, holding a glowing cube in his hand. With a calm voice, Hunsu declares his identity, the god of blacksmiths. Benson's eyes widen, stunned. He realizes the significance of Hunsu's title. Overwhelmed, Hunsu tries to stop the praise, flustered by the sudden worship. Hunsu walks alone in a quiet hall, reflecting on the intense training he endured. He recalls the struggle of mastering swordsmanship while handling blacksmith duties. Hunsu worries if his swordsmanship is truly enough, yet remains committed to fulfilling his promise to Commander Benson. Hunsu arrives at the royal palace, where guards recognize him with respect. King Barad welcomes Hunsu warmly. Hunsu bows and states he has come with an important request. Facing the king, Hunsu calmly asks for permission to use a rare material, essential for his next creation. Hunsu formally requests the 100-year cold iron once used for the king's sword. King Barad wishes to help, but regretfully explains that the last of the rare metal was already given to Hunsu. The unexpected news leaves Hunsu frustrated, knowing his next steps just became harder. King Barad reveals that cold iron still exists, hidden deep within the frost mine's treacherous terrain. Barad proposes a bold idea, for Hunsu to retrieve the material himself. Barad instructs her to accompany Hunsu to the frost mine. Though reluctant, Bella receives her royal mission to escort Hunsu. Barad reassures her it will be a valuable experience. Trusting his judgment, Bella complies, ready to follow Hunsu on the cold journey ahead. Spectators cheer as King Barad presents the sword, its frozen aura sparking attention. The cold energy it emits draws their curiosity and stirs whispers in the crowd. Zooming in on the blade, they read the inscription, Hunsu. They now question who crafted this weapon and what power lies behind it. News spreads online about the mysterious blacksmith Hun. Credited for the sword shown during the king's address, rumors claim he's a middle-aged man in his 40s. Despite the confusion, Hunsu's Forge account gains massive popularity. In the real world, Hunsu reflects on how King Barad's public praise boosted his following to 310,000. He recognizes that the attention is now focused on blacksmith Hun. If the public discovered that the skilled blacksmith and the recent tournament winner were the same person all along, Hunsu steadies himself and decides to stay low for now. Before departing for the frost mine, he remembered someone he hasn't thanked properly yet. Smiling faintly, Hunsu types the message. He feels grateful and determined. Investor and raider Han Baik reviews Barad's public success, frustrated. He recalls his own failed attempt to clear the Ifrit's tomb. Despite investing heavily in rare equipment, all his artifacts shattered during the battle. With no craftsman capable of meeting his needs, he wonders if true artisans even exist anymore. Just then, a message appears. Hunsu reaches out to fulfill a past promise. Han Baik smiles. It's Hunsu. Han Baik receives a message, triggering a memory from the past. He recalls a meeting Hunsu had made a promise involving a special artifact. The message asks if any changes are needed to the artifact's effects. Han Baik thinks deeply. If Hunsu can deliver the artifact now, it would be a crucial advantage. He replies with no changes, asking Hunsu's current level upon seeing it is only 59. He frowns slightly but stays hopeful. Despite doubts, he trusts Hunsu's skill. Han Baik contemplates requesting help from Hunsu, but doubts he'll accept an unofficial player's request. He learns Hunsu rarely takes private commissions. Knowing opportunities are limited, Han Baek makes a firm choice to try once anyway. Hunsu steps into a frozen region known as Frost Mine. A system alert confirms he's the first user to enter. The landscape stretches with ice-covered cliffs and mining equipment. Another alert grants him a 1-week bonus of double experience points. Hunsu quietly notes the benefit with satisfaction. Hunsu asks Bella if she's visited the mine before. She replies that this is her first time. As they explore, a miner spots them and questions how they entered a restricted area. Bella presenting her royal permit to explain their presence. The miner, surprised by Bella's status, becomes flustered. He introduces himself as Banya, a miner, and learns that Hunsu is a blacksmith. Banya acknowledges their presence but warns them that his father is the head miner. Banya offers to guide Hunsu and Bella to his father. While walking, Hunsu notices a strange blue glow nearby and pauses. Sensing something unusual, he spots a cluster of sealed monsters, their bodies glowing with crystalline energy. Bella explains the glow is from a dungeon-like area sealed long ago due to monster attacks. 100 years prior, a powerful mage sealed the monsters inside the mine to stop the spread. Hunsu realizes the glowing material on the monsters is cold iron, a rare and valuable forging material. Banya confirms it's cold iron but warns that greed could lead to danger if they approach. He explains the area inside the seal is monster territory. Difficult to enter, harder to survive. Banya accepts the trade-off for safer mining outside the barrier. Banya leads the group to his father, the head miner. Banya calls out to his father announcing visitors. After introducing them, he steps aside to let them speak. As Hunsu thanks Banya, the young miner quietly hides. Banya watches them cautiously, puzzled by the arrival of unfamiliar faces in such a remote area. Hunsu greets Rex. Rex notices their odd pairing, a royal knight and a stranger. His wariness fades slightly. Rex, level 231, listens as Hunsu confirms his identity and intention to talk. Rex questions their purpose. Hunsu explains he seeks minerals even better than 100-year cold iron. Surprised, Rex admits such minerals exist, but bluntly refuses to share information with someone he sees as greedy. Calling him a stranger, Rex shuts down the conversation, though Hunsu simply smiles in response, unfazed. Rex worries that revealing the mine's secrets could invite exploitation and chaos from outsiders. However, since Bella granted royal permission, he cannot turn them away outright. To dismiss them politely, Rex asks Hunsu if he's ever mined before. Hunsu admits he hasn't mined. Rex proposes a test, to mine 40 minerals in 1 week. If Hunsu succeeds, Rex agrees to share his information. A system quest appears. Hunsu must mine 40 minerals to prove his qualifications as a miner. Rex confidently asks if Hunsu accepts the proposal, not expecting success. Hunsu responds with a bold question. What if he mines more than 40? Rex promises that if Hunsu exceeds the goal, he'll personally mine for him in return. Rex agrees to the deal, promising Hunsu he'll honor it if the task is done. Rex notices Banya hiding and scolds him for eavesdropping. Rex grabs him and reprimands him harshly. Bella questions Hunsu's bold approach. He reveals that he planned ahead before entering the mine. He summons a specially prepared pickaxe forged in advance to help him mine more efficiently. Hunsu vows to secure the rare minerals. Bella quietly questions the king's judgment in trusting someone so eccentric. 1 week later, Rex waits outside, surprised that Hunsu hasn't emerged from the mine in all that time. He considers the challenge impossible, believing there's no way Hunsu could meet the quota. Suddenly, he spots movement at the mine's entrance. Hunsu exits the mine carrying his pickaxe. Rex remarks that he now looks like a real miner. Rex asks to see the results of the week's work. Hunsu prepares to show him. He activates an item and glowing minerals begin appearing one after another. Rex, skeptical at first, watches as a massive pile of rare minerals materializes in front of him. He rushes forward in disbelief, stunned by the quantity and quality of Hunsu's haul. Hunsu smiles confidently, announcing he mined a total of 200 minerals. Shocked, Rex demands to know who Hunsu really is. Asking if he's a legendary miner, Hunsu chuckles and says he's just an ordinary blacksmith. A system panel reveals his secret. He's using a high-grade Damascus pickaxe repurposed from a sword. Rex's eyes widened in disbelief as he saw the towering pile of glowing materials. He silently studied the massive mound of weapons and artifacts. Rex acknowledged his achievement and offered a sincere apology and dinner invitation. Hunsu smiled lightly and accepted the handshake, recognizing the shift in Rex's attitude. Their hands clasped firmly, sealing mutual respect between smith and warrior. Hunsu asked to invite Bella, and Rex welcomed her with ease. Inside a lively tavern, warriors gathered drinking and cheering loudly after their quests. Bella drank silently, drawing curious glances from her companions. Hyunsu invited her to join their table, but she preferred her solitude. Quietly sipping, Hyunsu was suddenly grabbed by a miner, made him surprised. Surrounded by cheerful workers, he confirmed that he'd mined 200 minerals and around 20 units of rare gold iron 1 miner. Impressed by Hyunsu's results, asked to see the famous tool behind the achievement. Hyunsu summoned the glowing Damascus pickaxe in front of the crowd. He explained its unique design, crafted solely for mining and boosting efficiency by over 200%. The tool could also transform into a sword, making it versatile and practical in quests. Bella acknowledged his genuine spirit as a blacksmith. Inspired by Hyunsu's passion and results, Rex rallied the miners to work harder the next day. They cheered, pulled Hyunsu in joyfully, and welcomed him as part of their mining family with loud celebration. Hyunsu arrived at the mountain site where a glowing barrier blocked entry to a sealed mine. Rex explained this was the location of the legendary 1,000-year cold iron buried deep within. Hyunsu realized the place he had only heard about was real. Rex reminded Hyunsu that the barrier remained and monsters lurked inside. He left the problem of survival to Hyunsu. Hyunsu stood uncertain, wondering how he'd mine in such dangerous conditions alone. A system message appeared. A new story begins. He watched in confusion as new information loaded, describing a weakening barrier from a century-old spell. The system warned that the barrier would break in 3 minutes, and the trapped monsters would be unleashed. Hyunsu rushed after Rex, warning him that the barrier was about to collapse within minutes. Rex, doubting anything could happen to a 100-year-old magic seal. Suddenly, a deep tremor shook the ground as energy surged from the glowing barrier. Everyone reacted in shock as debris flew and the mine entrance began collapsing violently. Hyunsu helped stabilize Bella as the cave's foundation crumbled around them. Rex yelled out for evacuation, realizing too late the severity of the situation as monsters stirred inside. One miner urged the others to flee first, promising to rescue those still inside the mine. The others agreed, unwilling to abandon their comrades. Rex stood firm at the entrance, gripping his pickaxe, ready to face the incoming threat without retreat. Rex believed the mine's collapse magic should have triggered, still hopeful they could rescue everyone first. But Hyunsu had already seen the quest update, warning that the spell had failed to activate. The system informed him 96 miners were in danger. The quest's success depended on how many survived. Frustrated by the system's detached wording, Hyunsu vowed to protect the miners. Seeing them as real lives drawing his blade, he prepared for battle and asked Bella to cover him from behind. Bella questioned his bravery, but Hyunsu resolved to face the monsters head-on to protect others. Hyunsu charged forward, declaring he'd stop the monsters at the entrance before they reached the miners. As the monsters began pouring through the barrier, he struck first, holding the line alone. Pausing only briefly, he wondered if he could handle them all, but gripped his sword tighter. Hyunsu gripped his Damascus sword tightly, but quickly realized it alone wouldn't enough. He needed a new solution, a stronger weapon. Determined, he activated the crafting process, focusing all his minerals into a power. As materials fused mid-air, Hyunsu visualized a new form, a weapon built for this exact crisis. With full concentration, he completed the blade, a massive glowing greatsword forged in real time. The emergency quest countdown ticked lower. Only seconds remained before full monster emergence. The ground exploded as the barrier shattered, unleashing a flood of dust and monstrous roars. Hyunsu stood calm, calling them forth, ready to face whatever came through the gate. 3 elite monsters emerged, a stone troll, stone orc, and a vicious stone wolf, all over level 100. Hyunsu's newly forged sword was powerful but unstable. Vanishing after a single swing, still he stood firm. As monsters charged, he vowed none would get through. Raising the blade high, he unleashed one decisive strike. Hyunsu charges forward, targeting a massive beast with a sword infused with cold energy. He swings fiercely, releasing a blast of frost that slashes through the enemy's chest. The skill Storm of Frost activates, freezing the enemy mid-attack and delivering a deadly strike. Surrounding enemies are trapped in ice, immobilized by the lingering frost. The summoned greatsword shatters into fragments. Its energy consumed. Hyunsu examines his main weapon, calm and focused as the battlefield quiets. The remnants of the shattered sword turn into materials absorbed into the forge system. Hyunsu confirms the cold type effect and prepares for the next weapon fusion. Elsewhere, the miner team faces a sudden monster ambush requesting support immediately. Hyunsu reflects on the sacrifice of those who once gave their lives to protect others. He recalls his father's death and the burden left behind for him to carry. Determined, He steps forward to protect the panicked civilians as monsters begin their charge. Hyunsu swiftly leads the monsters away from the crowd into an empty area. He draws the Damascus sword, bracing for close combat as the beasts follow him. A massive creature strikes first, and Hyunsu meets it head-on with focused strength. Hyunsu dodges and counters, slashing across the monster's side without pause. He maneuvers between enemies, avoiding their strikes with quick, practiced movements. Blade clashes echo through the dungeon as he faces multiple attackers without hesitation. A towering beast charges at Hyunsu with its weapon raised. Hyunsu swiftly dodges the attack, grabbing his sword tightly as he prepares to counter. With precision, he launches into the air, slicing through the monster's head mid-leap. The attack lands cleanly, staggering the creature as others begin to surround him. Hyunsu stands firm as multiple enemies rush in, aiming to overwhelm him at once. Without panic, he readies his blade again, facing the threat from all sides. Calmly, Hyunsu recalls the sword skills he trained for moments like this. He channels the Sacred King's swordsmanship, unleashing a glowing surge of energy. With one sweeping strike, he clears the battlefield, tearing through the incoming monsters. Hyunsu's final strike wipes out the remaining enemies, the system confirming the dungeon clear. He reflects on the sword's overwhelming power and his unexpected success. The mission ends with full rewards earned, and Hyunsu breathes in relief as the light fades. He confirms everyone's safety and smiles. A message appears suggesting new rewards for guiding future events. Hyunsu stands once more, realizing he can't rest yet, and a plan begins forming in his mind. Above ground, Rex helps survivors climb out and announces their total safety. The miners rejoice, cheering in relief and celebrating their narrow escape from death. Among the crowd, emotional embraces and silent gratitude mark the end of a long, terrifying ordeal. Bella realizes Hyunsu had drawn the monsters into the dungeon to protect everyone. The miners gather, shocked that Hyunsu acted alone and kept the danger away from them. Rex grips his pickaxe, acknowledging they still haven't confirmed everyone's safety. Rex commands all able miners to follow him into the dungeon for a search. The rescue team rushes underground, calling out for the blacksmith and scanning every tunnel. They finally spot Hyunsu collapsed on the floor, motionless, his body surrounded by faint light. Bella hurries to his side, confirming that he's wounded but still breathing. She checks his condition closely, relieved his heartbeat remains stable despite the injuries. Quietly, she watches over him, struck by his resolve and selfless decision to fight alone. As Bella reassures the group, Hyunsu slowly regains consciousness and sits up. Startling her, he calmly tells everyone he's fine, explaining he was lucky enough to defeat the monsters. Rex asks about the others, and Hyunsu's first concern is confirming everyone's safety. Rex expresses guilt for forgetting about Hyunsu during the chaos of the evacuation. He scolds Hyunsu for acting alone, feeling ashamed of how little they had done in return. Hyunsu simply smiles, saying he acted because they treated him and Bella like family. Rex calls him a fool, then pulls him into a powerful embrace, overcome with emotion. The group watches in confusion, unsure if Hyunsu is truly injured or just playing it cool. Rex rallies the team to carry Hyunsu back quickly, shouting orders as they all respond together. Hyunsu walks with Rex, hiding his strength behind a tired expression. A message states the miners will never forget him for saving them. He silently admits the drama was intentional to leave a stronger impression. Bella watches quietly as Hyunsu continues acting wounded. She suddenly realizes the truth, shocked by his casual thumbs up. Furious, she declares he was faking all along, calling him a fraud as he walks away. Hyunsu wakes up in bed after a deep rest, slowly gathering his thoughts. He stretches and rises, unaware someone is already watching him. Banya bursts in with joy, shouting that Hyunsu has awakened and rushing to alert the others. Rex bursts into the room, checking on Hansu's condition and expressing relief. Hyunsu, concerned, asks if everyone is unharmed. They reassure him with smiles. As Hyunsu prepares to leave, Rex approaches, clearly holding back something important. Rex asking to speak sincerely before Hansu's departure. He calls the others inside, their footsteps echoing as they gather. Together, the miners cheerfully declare they will mine today solely in Hansu's honor. Hyunsu is surprised to hear the miners plan to gather cold iron just for him. Rex promises they will mine the rare material to repay Hansu's sacrifice. Though Hyunsu insists he only did what was right, he accepts their gratitude with respect as the group prepares to leave. Rex mentions a personal request on behalf of his son. Banya nervously steps forward. With seriousness, Banya calls Hyunsu their benefactor. Banya bows and asks permission to follow Hyunsu on his journey. A notification appears, confirming Banya's loyalty and potential as a legendary miner. Hyunsu, stunned, silently repeats the word, retainer. As realization sets in HU, a staff member monitors user Hunsu's unusual activity during her shift. She panics as the system logs that Hunsu has recruited a legendary grade NPC. She shouts that he is not even a guild master, yet somehow gaining a retainer triggers more work. Back in the room, Banya kneels and praises Hunsu's bravery and skill without hesitation. He recalls how Hunsu mined and fought alone, risking his life for others. Banya expresses his sincere admiration, stating that he witnessed everything with his own eyes. Moved by what he saw, Banya pledges to mine and fight under Hunsu's name. He asks formally to be accepted as Hunsu's retainer. Hyunsu senses the depth of Banya's words, realizing this decision carries true weight. Hyunsu explaining he's not yet ready to lead anyone. He asks for time to prepare and promises to send word once he's built a proper base. Banya, hopeful, lights up at Hunsu's response, wondering if it means a future acceptance. Hunsu smiles and confirms that Banya can join him when the time comes. Banya excitedly embraces him. Overwhelmed with gratitude, a system alert appears, confirming Banya has officially been accepted as a retainer with epic status. Banya reflects on how his sincerity reached Hunsu and earned him a powerful ally. Though their paths separate for now, he vows to mine until they meet again. Rex watches with a proud smile, silently supporting his son's new journey. In a frozen region, Hunsu and his team uncover a massive cold iron deposit beneath the cliffs. System notifications confirm they've acquired large amounts of cold iron and iron ore. Hunsu greets Bella and the group, stunned by the sheer scale of what they found. They confirm the rare material is 1,000-year cold iron, an extremely valuable forging resource. Even Rex is amazed, expressing disbelief at witnessing it for the first time. Rex thanks Hunsu, crediting him for making this discovery possible. Hunsu thanks everyone and prepares to depart, but Banya rushes forward to stop him. Banya hands over a glowing pickaxe, a gift he wanted Hunsu to have. Hunsu realizes the pickaxe is enchanted to increase his gains whenever Banya mines. Rex proudly hands Hunsu the pickaxe, declaring his loyalty with unshaken spirit. Hunsu feels conflicted, amused by Rex's joy despite the misunderstanding. Bella quietly reflects on Hunsu's earlier actions. As the group prepares to part ways, Hunsu activates a teleport gate for his next journey. A few days later, a new challenge begins inside the fiery salamander's dungeon. Despite repeated attempts, skilled blacksmiths struggle to craft a special shield within the dungeon. Another attempt fails, and the team prepares to abandon the run. Suddenly, a bird arrives carrying a gift and message from Hunsu. Han Baek, surprised, receives the package. Unsure of its quality but thankful for the gesture, he decides to open the gift sent by Hunsu, curious. Despite his doubts, as the contents load, Han Baek's face twists in confusion, staring at the display. He panics, certain it must be a bug. Han Baek forges a unique shield bearing the image of Medusa. Han Baek examines the shield, realizing Hansu's crafting skills surpass expectations. Awed by the design modeled after the Aegis, Han Baek praises it as a masterpiece. Han Baek completes the crafting quest in record time. The system confirms success. Han Baek believes the artifact could help them finish the dangerous dungeon ahead. Determined, Han Baek enters Salamander's dungeon. Nell thanks Hunsu for making the visit possible through his efforts. Hunsu shares that he spent time caring for his ill father. The conversation shifts to his father's condition, as Hunsu reveals the burden of providing constant care. Hunsu reveals that his father is still unconscious, but expresses his resolve to stay hopeful. Nell showing silent support before shifting the conversation. As Hunsu reviews the document, he suggests starting with a compact and specialized team. Nell states her main goal is to make Hunsu the most renowned blacksmith in Korea through guild success. She explains that forming a balanced group will be key, with Hunsu positioned as the guild's rising star. Nell asks if he has anyone in mind for the founding members of the guild. Hunsu recalls the friend who first introduced him to the game and considers him a potential member. He admits he hasn't formed connections with others yet, but hopes to build bonds moving forward. Suddenly, Hunsu remembers another person and ready to name them. Hunsu recalls the mysterious person who helped him, but admits he never learned their username or level. Nell finds it odd to trust someone with so little info. Hunsu defends the choice emotionally. He explains that during a difficult time in life, Hyunsu expresses deep gratitude, believing their selfless act allowed him to start over. Nell wonders if that person is involved in business and possibly sees Hunsu as a valuable asset. She speculates that they might even try to lead the guild if they enter the game world. Hyunsu firmly denies that possibility. He believes in their integrity and sees their past actions as proof of their sincerity. Nell respects the final decision in his hands regarding the guild invitation. Nell asks to meet the mysterious person Hunsu mentioned. She warns him not to reveal that he's Blacksmith Hun and recalls adding his name to a gift. Elsewhere, someone shouts Hunsu's name. Inside a burning dungeon, a powerful beast emerges. Han Baek reacts swiftly, unleashing a powerful blue force from his shield against the creature. The beast is struck and frozen in place by the burst of overwhelming magic energy. The explosion fades as Han Baek watches in awe, shield glowing with energy. He's impressed the shield functions exactly as he had hoped in every detail. Suddenly, Han Baek senses something and turns to notice a strange mark on his shield. A burst of fire erupts toward Han Baek as a fiery projectile rushes in from above. He narrowly blocking the explosion that rocks the chamber. The area trembles violently as lava splashes. A dark figure approaches, its eye glowing as it analyzes. The shield absorbs the next attack, glowing blue as it nullifies the energy. The enemy demands to know the maker's name, launching another flurry of flaming strikes. Han Baek realizes the danger as the enemy threatens to pursue him and his creator. He fears being forced to quit the game but refuses to betray Hunsu's trust. Determined, Han Baek evades the next blow, silently vowing to protect Hunsu's identity. The Fire Queen's avatar attacks again. Surprised by Han Baek, he blocks the flames, enduring the heat while insisting it's worth the risk. A deadly spell, Death Hand, is cast and strikes him. With only 33 horsepower remaining, Han Baek clings to consciousness and defends the artifact's value. Flashes of Hunsu's face remind him of their bond and the shield glows in response. Declaring it a gift from a friend, Han Baek draws new strength and shouts in defiance. A new power activates from the shield, unlocking a hidden skill in the system. As energy gathers, the enemy charges another powerful spell. Han Baek, empowered by loyalty and ready to counter the Fire Queen's wrath. Han Baek strikes the final blow, shattering the enemy with a surge of blue energy. System notifications confirm the Fire Queen's defeat, dungeon clear and a rare reward obtained. Explosions shake the ground as the dungeon collapses, signaling the end of the battle. A hidden test is marked complete, recognizing Han Baek's loyalty to Hunsu. The system declares him a qualified player who grows through hardship. Glowing light surrounds him, initiating a hidden class change. He reacts in awe. Han Baek stands before a system message acknowledging his potential. A radiant light envelops him as he's promoted to the epic class. The one who grows, the system describes his role, a protector designed for those who value the safety of others. A system informs him he hasn't joined a guild and recommends doing so for better progression. He stares at the message in surprise, realizing the implications. A smirk forms. Han Baek decides to reconnect with Hunsu. A tavern buzzes with noise as adventurers relax and eat. Han Baek enters in full armor, immediately drawing attention. Hunsu calls him over excitedly. Others whisper, mistaking him for a top-tier player. Nell notes his powerful artifacts and warns the others that he's no ordinary player. Bark approaches the table where Hunsu and Nell are seated. Bark shakes Hunsu's hand and thanks him for helping clear the quest. Nell looks on in surprise. Bark pauses, realizing too many people are listening. He quickly decides to end the public attention. Bark suggests they move to a private place for the conversation, avoiding any unwanted exposure in the tavern. Inside the Goyad Kingdom's private lounge, the three sit at an elegant table. Bark starts the conversation again, mentioning a detail he noticed during their last encounter. He reveals that the name Hyun engraved on the shield gave it away. The mysterious blacksmith is Hunsu. Nell listens quietly and acknowledges Bark's directness. Hunsu confirms he is the blacksmith. Hunsu explains he never planned to hide his identity. Bark requesting Hunsu to come closer for a moment. Curious, Hunsu leans forward. Bark gently places his hand on Hunsu's head and thanks him. Bark shares he suspected the truth when Hunsu asked about repurchasing the forge. He explains that during the quest, someone tried to steal the artifact, but he proudly declared it was a friend's gift. Hunsu thanked Bark for protecting the secret and the artifact. Bark promises to keep Hunsu's identity hidden. Nell watches him closely, quietly apologizes for misjudging. Nell admits she had suspicions. Bark, she formally introduces herself as Hunsu's manager. Nell admits she suspected Bark of exploiting Hunsu's identity. Bark explains he did consider forming a guild if Hunsu was interested. Though many would seek to control someone like Hunsu, Bark chose not to pursue that path. Hunsu hesitates, then says he has a question for Bark. He invites Bark to join his guild. It's a sincere offer, catching Bark completely off guard. Hunsu values Bark's presence and hopes to share their future progress. He wants to grow stronger and celebrate success with people he trusts. The memory of their journey together reflects in their minds. With a smile, Bark accepts the invitation. He promises to support him, Bark stands and formally introduces himself. He reveals his username, class, and level. Bark, level 311. Growing tanker Nell reacts with surprise when she learns the class has potential to reach legendary rank. Hyunsu steps up and begins his own introduction. Hyunsu states his real name, level 80, and class, Lord Blacksmiths. Bark is stunned at the rare title. Hyunsu acknowledges they don't have a guild name yet, but extends his hand toward Bark with a proposal. Bark agrees to work with him and calls Hyunsu future master. Smiling proudly, Nell sits quietly watching them. Bark lightens the mood. As they dine, Bark accesses his system screen and announces he wants to show proper gratitude for the gift. Hyunsu is caught off guard and tries to decline politely. Hyunsu is shocked to receive 400 million won from Bark. Flustered, Hyunsu tries to refuse, but Bark insists it's sincere. Bark explains their first goal, making Hyunsu, the blacksmith, famous. Nell suggests using a broadcast to boost visibility. Hyunsu questions the idea, unsure about being labeled good-looking or going on broadcast. Confused, he wonders if they're joking. Bark and Nell only smile in silence, fueling his disbelief. Overwhelmed, Hyunsu, clearly unprepared for the sudden push into public attention. As Aries gained global popularity, major companies and broadcasters signed contracts to stream its content. Television and internet platforms alike began producing massive volumes of Aries-related material. One platform, AJ Internet Broadcasting, became known for breaking viewership records through in-game live streams. At a broadcast station, the staff rushes to prepare for a live stream. The producers discuss falling ratings. They hope this stream will revive interest. They mention Hyunsu declined to appear, but agreed to respond indirectly through the tournament's winner. A live stream labeled Room of Truth begins. Anonymous viewers comment skeptically. The MC appears on stage, full of energy, engaging viewers by hyping up Hyunsu's reveal. Viewers assume the blacksmith will look unimpressive and prepare for disappointment. The MC welcomes the champion, Hyunsu, and invites him to enter the Room of Truth. Hyunsu steps in quietly. His real appearance stuns the audience. He sits beside the MC as the chat floods with confused reactions. Hyunsu calmly greets everyone. Hyunsu sits in the studio, reading live comments. Suddenly, top-tier blacksmith Roan donates a large sum and asks about Hyunsu's appearance. The chat explodes. Everyone's shocked. Roan, a renowned figure, has taken interest, proving Hyunsu's reveal is far more impactful than expected. At the Black Anvil Guild conference room, top members gathered urgently. Sylvia questioned the importance of interrupting their work. Docs explained that Hyunsu had become the most discussed figure, after crafting a sword for the famed Sword King, Barad. Vaughn admitted that Hyunsu's talent could pose a threat to their dominance. He suggested the guild should act before Hyunsu's influence grew stronger. Guildmaster Rune decided to evaluate Hyunsu personally. Hyunsu logged into the virtual world, greeted by the system's initialization. The moment he appeared, broadcasters noticed his entrance and started coverage immediately. The MC excitedly announced Hyunsu's presence, drawing viewer attention to the live feed. The MC announced that a donation secured an exclusive interview with Hyunsu. Hyunsu appeared on screen calmly, mentally noting how the setup helped maintain his identity. The MC asked questions rapidly, name, age, and occupation, while Hyunsu answered casually. Viewers began donating, leaving flirty or admiring messages about wanting to follow or meet Hyunsu. Seeing this momentum, the MC leaned in to ask deeper questions about Hyunsu's in-game role. Hyunsu received quiet instructions from his support to maintain the illusion of a live interview. Hyunsu stating he was a blacksmith, while continuing to pretend he was being guided remotely. When asked for personal details like age, height, and weight, it was a secret. Viewers reacted playfully, guessing his real age and height, while the Mac laughed at the teasing banter. Hyunsu said mysterious act would harm his credibility, so he chose to shift his approach. He decided to present himself through results, declaring confidently that his work would represent who he was. The MC seemed surprised but relayed Hyunsu's statement back to the audience without breaking character. The MC revealed a special segment designed to test Hyunsu's crafting skills under public scrutiny. The event was a time attack dungeon mission. The challenge included clearing a dungeon with the crafted weapon. Rue donated funds and placed a high-stakes bounty on the crafting challenge. He offered an increasing reward based on the rarity of the item Hyunsu would produce. If Hyunsu failed, Rune demanded disclosure of the sword's details crafted for Sword King Barad. The enemy shouted, calling the situation outrageous content for viewers. Watching closely, Rue whined silently, curious whether Hyunsu would accept the mission. Hyunsu responded confidently, stating his acceptance. Back in the smithy, Nell monitored the broadcasts, noticing how Hyunsu dominated all trending discussions. She reviewed the stream chat and public reactions, realizing that every message was centered on him. Nell asked Hunsu how it felt to be famous, but he stayed quiet, not giving an answer. She interrupting, asking Hunsu what kind of item he planned to create. Hunsu replied that he was still thinking, showing no signs of pressure. He explained that his artifacts would be at least rare grade, especially now that Ruwoon raised the stakes. Hunsu told Nell he wanted to promote himself. Nell commented that the community viewed the mission as a duel between Hunsu and Ruwoon. Hunsu denied it, but Nell said it had already become a versus match with high stakes. Nell explained that if Hunsu succeeded, even Black Anvil might attempt to recruit him. When asked what would happen if he failed, Nell said his perceived value would drop immediately. Hunsu firmly decided he had no option but to succeed no matter what. Hunsu thanked Nell, saying her words gave him motivation to move forward. As Nell responded playfully, Hunsu kicked her out of the room. Nell, stunned outside, wondered if Hunsu had just kicked her out 10 days later. Inside the time attack dungeon, waves of monsters swarmed the battlefield as the mission began. The viewer count surged past 80,000. As the battle opened, Hunsu leaped into action, signaling the official start of the live challenge. The first mission stage was simple: defeat roughly 40 monsters blocking the path. Hunsu's objective was to reach a glowing point located 400 meters away on the cliff. The MC explained that the current record, held by Ruwoon, was 1 minute and 23 seconds. To add pressure, a prize of 10 million won was promised for setting a new record. Hunsu appeared, standing ready as the countdown to the timed mission began. As the timer hit start, Hunsu faced the crowd of monsters with unwavering resolve. Hunsu revealed that the artifact he crafted wasn't a weapon, but a gauntlet designed to enhance performance. He activated its effects, and his attack range expanded dramatically. He drew his bow, preparing to unleash an enhanced shot boosted by the gauntlet. The empowered shot pierced through enemies with destructive force. The arrow flew directly to the distant objective. Hunsu had set a new record with a time of 41 seconds. The MC congratulated Hunsu and announced the 10 million won reward for breaking the record. Hunsu confidently corrected him, stating he should receive 20 million won based on their prior agreement. He reminded Ruwoon of the public bet, shocking the Black Anvil members watching the broadcast. Hunsu smiled confidently, preparing to reveal the final detail about his crafted item to the audience. He raised his arm, displaying the golden gauntlet, and announced its classification without hesitation. The gauntlet was confirmed to be a unique grade item, stunning even Ruwoon into silence. Hunsu unexpectedly raises the prize amount to 20 million won, shocking everyone around him. His decision causes confusion among viewers, especially one announcer who questions the change. With a smirk, Hunsu lifts his golden gauntlets, revealing they are of unique grade. A system notification requests Hunsu to reveal the details of his artifact. Hunsu agrees and prepares to disclose the item's stats. Hunsu activates the reveal, causing the air around him to shimmer with light. The gauntlet's description shows incredible stats, boosting strength, accuracy, and critical chance. Hunsu casually confirms their unique grade while Ruwoon's stunned. A notification pops up confirming a 10 million won donation from Hunsu. Hunsu announces a live auction to sell the artifact he crafted, a suspicious group showing concern about the potential value and impact of his decision. Hunsu starts the auction at 10,000 gold, activating the system and standing firm on his pricing. At first, no one bids, and Hunsu begins doubting the high starting price. Despite his nerves, he trusts Nell's judgment and waits for the first reaction from the crowd. A notification finally pops up with a 15,000 gold bid, sparking the start of competition. The bids surge rapidly, 20,000, 25,000, then up to 40,000 gold, as excitement grows among participants. Overwhelmed by the response, Hunsu thanks the bidders, barely hiding his joy at the unexpected success. Declaring it a jackpot, he invites all interested parties to contact Hunsu's forge to complete their bids. Hunsu thanks the audience and announces the start of the second stage. A powerful monster appears, Cyclops, level 121, shaking the battlefield as it prepares to attack. Hunsu readies himself, gripping his weapon tightly and showing no hesitation. With explosive speed, Hunsu charges straight at the Cyclops, launching into the air with precise control. He narrows his focus mid-air, aiming at the monster's weak point as he descends with full force. He crashes down powerfully onto the Cyclops, unleashing a direct combat. Viewers react in disbelief, thinking Hunsu defeated the Cyclops in a single hit. As dust settles, the Cyclops unexpectedly rises again, unscathed. The monster retaliates fiercely with a massive swing, revealing the real fight has only just begun. Hunsu counters the Cyclops' strike with a fierce block. Regaining balance, he delivers a precise spin attack with his gauntlets. Spectators react in awe, debating whether he's a tournament player or a hidden pro. Hyunsu receiving endless chat messages urging him to reveal the next auction item. He admits the second item is lower in grade, causing viewers to complain and press for details. Meanwhile, a player watching the stream prepares to reveal the item with a smile. The second item is revealed, a custom greatsword with decent stats but classified as normal grade. Viewers criticize the gap in quality, calling the previous artifact a lucky fluke from Hyunsu. Hyunsu explains the downgrade was caused by using divine emergency crafting twice in a row. Roon watches the broadcast quietly believing Hyunsu's success. He receives a call from someone watching as well, suggesting that even if the second item was weaker, Hyunsu should still be recruited. Roon agrees, realizing Hyunsu's potential outweighs the recent flaw, asked about a signing bonus. Roon looks at the greatsword on screen and silently weighs the offer. He states an amount 2 billion as a recruitment offer, then hesitates despite doubts. He justifies it by saying securing skilled blacksmiths will bring peace of mind to the guild. Ru reads the weapon description and catches a detail he previously overlooked. Surprised, he leans in closer, questioning the vague explanation, sensing something unusual. He stares at the screen and wonders aloud what the penalty truly means. MC celebrates Hyunsu clearing the second stage but warns that the next phase will be far more difficult. He reveals that the final stage includes a swarm of boss-class monsters waiting in the shadows. He hints at the chaos to come, emphasizing that this last challenge won't be easy to overcome. Hyunsu must navigate through deadly monsters and reach a flag at the top of a hill without being caught. Even one hit fails the challenge, and among the enemies is a level 128 werewolf. The werewolf's thick hide and strength explain why past success rates are under 20%. MC calls for Hyunsu to begin, reminding viewers that even the record holders struggle with this final stage. Hyunsu pushes aside his concerns about the downgraded weapon. He stands silently, thinking while viewers question why he hasn't moved, unaware of what he's planning next. Hyunsu declares he won't run past the monsters. Despite confusion from spectators, Hyunsu activates his power, gripping his glowing weapon with resolve. He stands firm as a swarm of powerful werewolves emerges before him. Hyunsu states his goal: he intends to defeat every single monster in the final stage. He's sending a golden wave of energy slashing through the charging werewolves. Using sharp movements and perfect aim, Haishun cuts through multiple enemies in rapid succession. A werewolf counters fiercely, but Haishu evades and counters, slamming the ground with a massive strike. The shockwave scatters enemies, but they continue howling and charging with relentless aggression. After a final explosive blow, Hyunsu ends the assault and confirms to himself, it's over. After finishing the stage, Hyunsu stands silently, while viewers react in disbelief and anticipation. He presents the third item, a bow, crafted with care and inspired by a legendary Korean myth. Named the Changun Bao, it's modeled after the divine weapon used to shoot down false suns. Hyunsu sat beside his father, listening to a tale told at sunset, a legend from Jeju Island. In ancient times, the world had 2 suns and 2 moons. To restore balance, Daebyolwang descended with a mighty bow and shot down 1 sun and 1 moon. Young Hyunsu told his father he'd make the legendary bow. Now older, he calculated whether Ares' technology and his knowledge could recreate the 1,000-pound bow. He realized strength was an issue. Wielding such weight required an alternative solution. Hyunsu decided the bow didn't need to weigh 1,000 gyun. Only the target did. With ebony wood, a material capable of imbuing power, he began the crafting process. A glowing light emerged as Hyunsu forged a new version of the Cheonjeon bow. Hyunsu moving swiftly through the forest with his crafted bow in hand with precise force, he fired arrows at the approaching werewolves. The enemies fell, and system messages confirmed the successful hunt with each hit. Spectators were shocked by how easily Hyunsu felled werewolves. Hyunsu sensed something odd in the forest. The atmosphere had shifted, and before long, new werewolves emerged rapidly from the shadows. Hyunsu quickly aimed again, confident he could take the enemy down in a single shot. The arrow struck, triggering an intense explosion upon impact with the werewolf's body. Yet the blast startled an ally nearby, revealing the unexpected danger of the weapon's force. A chilling howl echoed, and Hyunsu's body trembled uncontrollably as fear overtook him. A system alert confirmed a status effect: fear, triggered by the roar of a powerful predator. From the forest shadows, a colossal werewolf emerged. Fenrir's fragment had descended. The fragment of Fenrir level 178 appeared, causing all werewolves nearby to retreat. Shock spread among viewers as Fenrir's name appeared on screen. Our werewolf used a skill called Blood Claw, catching Hunsu off guard. Hunsu launched a counterattack, but the overwhelming number of enemies left him wounded. Hunsu's strength continued to drop from status effects. Weakened by fear and blood loss, he realized he had to act quickly to survive. Hunsu activated an item boost to temporarily increase his strength despite his weakened state. He unleashed a powerful energy shot, forcing the werewolves back with overwhelming impact. Before he could recover, Fenrir responded by casting a devastating skill, Claw of Destruction. Fenrir lunged at full speed, striking the ground with explosive force upon landing. Viewers watching remotely feared Hunsu had been taken out by the massive blow. As dust cleared, Fenrir stood unharmed, radiating dangerous energy across the battlefield. Hunsu reappeared, dodging and channeling energy into one decisive counterstrike. With precision and resolve, he aimed directly at Fenrir's head, his final move prepared, calling checkmate. Hunsu's blow landed, piercing the beast as Fenrir swung wildly in return. Hunsu smiled, revealing he hadn't used his final move yet. He fired the strange 1,000 arrow, multiplying the weight on impact by tenfold. The massive force crashed down, creating a crater and shaking the entire forest floor. MC watched in disbelief as the ground cracked. Hunsu, now standing atop Fenrir's defeated form. Having endured the clash, Fenrir remained motionless, its mouth agape. Proof of Hunsu's overwhelming finish. The broadcast host panicked, trying to understand what kind of weapon had just ended the fight. A top-ranked archer named Ian immediately donated and offered to buy Hunsu's bow. Hunsu stood quietly as notifications flooded in, silent amid the storm of admiration. MC relayed Hunsu's message to viewers. He refused to sell the Cheongunan bow. Despite the audience's protests, Hunsu stood firm, his decision broadcasted to everyone live. Instead of selling, Hunsu offered to craft one bow for a single qualified archer. As the announcement ended, Hunsu vanished from the battlefield. He reappeared inside his rented smithy, quietly reflecting on the battle's outcome. Hunsu was satisfied with the day's achievements. He admired the materials he had collected, already thinking of future creations. The intense battle had paid off, and his name now echoed across Ares. As the sun set, Hunsu's journey as the genius blacksmith continued to evolve. Hunsu clenched his fist. He had finally reached level 100 after a long journey. A system message confirmed it. He could now create his own guild within Ares. With that power, he could unite his companions and officially bring Bana as his retainer. The system prompted him to name the guild, and Hunsu considered a hopeful future. He entered Gwangyang, meaning light, and became the official guild master. With the title Lord's Graces unlocked, his leadership journey officially began. New members quickly joined, and Hunsu smiled proudly at their enthusiasm. Nell approved of the name Gwangyang, praising its strong and positive tone. With the guild established, the next mission was clear: build a strong base and future. When asked what he'd do next, Hunsu answered he would fulfill his promise. He explained that he once vowed to find Barad after forming a guild. To honor that commitment, Hunsu declared he would head to the kingdom of Goyard. Meanwhile, in Goyard, nobles objected to the king's decision to grant land to a foreigner. Barad responded firmly such rewards required true merit, not favoritism. He reminded them he did not make such decisions lightly. Hunsu receives a call from the broadcasting team shortly after his live appearance. The producer explains that they want to invite him again and shares the donation results. Hunsu listens quietly as the producer adds that a record-breaking prize of 10 million won will also be sent to him. The producer hesitates when mentioning the blacksmith, prompting Hunsu to offer a solution. Hunsu proposes receiving the full payment himself. Hunsu checks his balance in disbelief, realizing that just the donations alone amount to 25 million won. Hunsu recalls the gauntlet he crafted in-game, which was sold for 85,000 gold. Counting all his profits from the last 10 days, he realizes his earnings have surpassed expectations. Just as the realization hits, he receives a message from Nell, asking him to log in immediately. Hunsu appears in the intermediate village plaza. Nell rushes over to Hunsu, announcing with excitement that his popularity has surged due to recent events. She explains that Black Anvil tried to recruit him. Nell calms herself and brings up Hunsu's planned journey to the Goyard Kingdom. Hunsu confirms he's ready and explains he repaired a broken item from a previous quest. Impressed, Nell encourages him to bring back another high-value guest. Hunsu thanks Nell for her constant support while she becomes flustered. She admitting she hasn't found a suitable place yet but promises to keep trying. Hunsu reassures her with a calm smile, telling her to take her time. Barad, seated beside his wolves, receives Marquis Wilo in the palace. Wilo congratulates Barad and brings up rumors about Barad's intention to grant land. Barad questions the Marquis, asking if he has a problem with that decision. Weilo expresses disapproval, stating that offering land to a mere outsider blacksmith feels excessive. He further argues that Hansu is still a beginner among outsiders. Barad responds firmly, reminding Weilo that Hansu once saved his life. As Barad strokes the wolf beside him, the creature reacts suddenly. The wolf informs Barad that Sir Hansu has arrived. Both Barad and Weilo turn to react to the news. Hansu enters the hall wearing upgraded armor. Marquis Weilo is caught off guard, questioning an overwhelming aura. Stopping before the throne, Hansu confidently greets King Barad. The room quiets as Barad notes the shift in atmosphere since Hansu's arrival. Hansu confirms the transformation is due to the equipment he now wears, Fenrir's helmet and cloak. He explains that these items not only enhance abilities but also carry the dignity and aura of a noble wolf. Barad asks if Hansu crafted the gear himself, but Hansu clarifies he only repaired them. Hansu concludes that the equipment's enhancements are functioning exactly as intended. Barad's reason for summoning Hansu, introducing a territory named Belas. Barad explains that Bela is now abandoned and falling into ruin over the years. Every dispatch team fled under mysterious circumstances, raising suspicion among the nobles. Meeting Hansu and witnessing his craftsmanship convinced him that Hansu might be the key to restoring Belas. Barad declares that Hansu is the one who can solve Belas' problem. A system quest notification appears, tasking Hansu with rebuilding the Western Territory, though hesitant due to his inexperience. Hansu expresses his concern to Barad. Barad reassures him with a firm look. Moved by Barad's trust and reminded of his purpose, Hansu accepts the task. Believing he can make a difference for fellow blacksmiths, Hansu declares with determination that he will rebuild Belas. Hansu and his group arrive at the entrance of Belas under the night sky. As they walk through the streets, they notice closed shops and a lack of villagers. Bark suggests they explore further, while Hansu quietly realizes the situation is more serious. Nell spot a building with lights on and decide to investigate. As they enter, the place looks abandoned but filled with armor and gear. Bark wonders aloud if someone might still be living in the building. Hansu calls out to check if anyone is present. A noise catches their attention and all three react with caution as something moves behind a door. Nell startled but alert as she carefully observes. A creaking door slowly opens, revealing a trembling hand reaching out from the darkness. A cough breaks the silence, drawing attention from Hansu's group. An old man, frail and scared, steps forward holding a lantern, asking weakly who they are. Hansu calmly explained they were sent by His Highness Barad to investigate the village. The old man inside mistakes them for agents of the Edril Company. To prove their claim, Bark presents a royal decree signed by His Highness. The man remains silent, processing the sudden appearance of the strangers. Hansu sets the scroll gently on the ground, signaling no threat. The trio withdraws quietly, showing patience and confidence in the document they provided. The man begins reading the contents under the warm glow of the room's lanterns. As the group waits calmly nearby, the man reads through the decree. He finally acknowledges the decree's authenticity. The old man introduces himself as Per, once the personal blacksmith to the village lord. Per explains that everything changed 1 year ago when the Edril Company invaded the village. Per confirms their suspicions and asks if they're willing to hear the full story. Per explains the Edril Company arrived after hearing of the village's skilled blacksmiths. The village lord, eager to spread the blacksmith's fame, accepted the deal without hesitation. Later, during a friendly dinner, the company master proposed a wager. Trusting the gesture, the young lord accepted the bet, but he lost everything in a single moment. The Edril Company assumed control and began imposing their rule over the village. Even the skilled blacksmiths who once thrived began to flee. Unable to endure the oppression, those blacksmiths were dragged away by force and forced into labor. Their freedom was stolen. They were beaten, shackled, and turned into slaves. Witnessing this, Hansu clenches his fist. He feels rage building inside him. Hansu asking if he once worked under those tyrants too, Per responds softly. He's not one of them. On the day the Lord lost the bet, Per was ordered to escape while others fell under control. He remembers the Lord's final words, one day return and win the wager. Per has lived with that mission. Bark asks Per if the Lord's faith in him meant he had the strength to win that challenge. Per admits the opponent, Books, was skilled. Despite his despicable nature, Per confesses he's tired of running. He fears they'll find him soon. Per thanks them for listening and urges the group to leave before they too are caught. Hansu offers his help sincerely. Surprising the old man, Hansu reveals that he is a blacksmith too. Per expresses gratitude, touched by Hansu's words, but he starts to warn that others who came before were not so lucky. Before he finishes, the door bursts open. Edril. Company guards storm in. An aggressive man glares at Purr and insults him. The last man to enter is Books, the Edril company's examiner. Books announces that Purr's freedom is over. He now demands that Purr fulfill his role under the company's rule. Books issues a threat: obey or die. The danger becomes immediate, and Purr stands face to face with his past. Books mocks Purr, laughing at the idea that he found new allies. Books summons a glowing cube, surrounding the area with digital energy patterns. He explains this space is a forge within a dream. Tools can be created instantly. Nell and Bark see through the scheme and realize this isn't a fair contest. System messages appear showing Purr is level 230, while Books is 299. If Purr loses, he becomes a slave. If he wins, he's allowed to live. Purr steadies himself. He remembers the Lord's words and declares his condition. The system accepts the terms. Books furious at how far he had to chase Purr down. He roars with rage and demands Purr pick up his hammer. Books announces the wager's condition. The better sword wins. Hyunsoo grabs Purr's hand briefly, offering silent support. With resolve, Purr prepares himself. He must forge with everything he has left. Spectators watch as both blacksmiths begin. Purr focuses, visualizing every step. Purr's thoughts echo. He must create the best sword of his life. Purr pours everything he has into the forge, ignoring pain, fear, and age. Purr draws the glowing blade from the flames. It shines with warmth and power. Books finishes too, lifting his blade with pride. The weapons face each other under the glowing forge light. Purr stares at Books' sword. As a blacksmith, he instantly knows that weapon lacks something. His heart whispers that sword. Books lifts his sword, declaring it a masterpiece. Purr admits to himself that his body is failing and his time is nearing its end. As despair creeps in, a shout jolts him. Someone yells for him to focus. Purr is stunned to see Hyunsoo step in. The young man demands he focus only on forging. Hyunsoo quickly assesses the forge. The fire's temperature is wrong. Hearing this, Purr's system alerts a new event. A bright flash reveals Hyunsoo's intervention. He channels his knowledge toward Purr with resolve. Hyunsoo empowers the forge. Flames roar higher. Books, startled by the sudden shift, glares at Hyunsoo. His voice trembles with shock.